The Iowa Hawkeyes fall in the national championship game on this Sunday afternoon by a final count of 102-85 down in Dallas. And we are pleased to be joined by none other than a Hawkeye legend, and that is current pro Sam Logic is with us. Sam, I know it's late out in Luxembourg. I know it's unfavorable circumstances to be talking to you for the first time on this show, but first of all, thank you for being here and staying up with us late night.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
All right, let's before we get to callers, and I'm going to throw the link for people to join. I'll throw that up in the live chat. I'll also add it for our newcomers to our description on the YouTube channel in the video description of this live stream. You kind of talked to me as we first jumped on here, Sam, but kind of give our listeners an idea of where you think this game was lost. Obviously, that number on the left, 102, is an indication that the defense wasn't the best at times tonight. I know people are going to be upset with officiating. What would you attribute the struggles tonight to?
Well, yeah, I mean, the officiating is one thing. I think I don't think we can sit here and blame it fully on the refs. I think there were some tough calls. I think there were definitely some, what do you say, phantom calls, but I think they're pretty consistent. I mean, LSU had a couple that, I mean, as a Hawk fan, you're going to take, but don't really think they're there. I think they're pretty consistent with the the non-flagrant on Reese and the non-flagrant on Monica. You know, it's, like I said, it's hard when it shakes out this way. But I think really who came in, Carson came in and just hooped. You know, she just came in and she was ready. So I think that she was the difference maker. Like I said, I think that she came in. She hadn't scored. I want to say they said in the last 3 games she hadn't scored any points. But she stayed ready. She was ready when her number was called. You know, Reese got her second foul. She had to sit. I mean, Monica had her second. She was sitting. I think she was she ended up with 22 or 23 points, and we're losing by the Hawks lost about just like a little less than that. So, they hit threes that hoop opened up and they knocked them down, you know. So credit to LSU. I mean, they came in ready and they made shots when they had to.
For the season, Jasmine Carson, 8.4 points per game. Consider her a role player off the bench. But again, as you said, Sam, she stepped up. And again, they were shots you have to make in a big moment. The perimeter defense was not good in the first half. I talked about heading into this game, and I want to get your take on this. South Carolina, to me, you go into that game knowing exactly how we have to play them, right? Like, you have to pack the paint. There really is no way not to do that. And we don't really believe they can beat us from outside, so we're just going to go full bore on this game plan. It worked. They didn't make Iowa pay at least enough. With LSU, though, heading into this game, my preview I released yesterday, I kind of said, I don't know how to play them. I think you're going to have to mix things up because they're too good from behind the arc to just pack the paint, but they're also really good down low with Angel Reese and a bunch of posts that can rebound the basketball. Talk about the defensive game plan.
Yeah, I think, like you said, South Carolina is a little bit taller even. They're bigger. They're physical. They know their strengths. They're well coached. And, for South Carolina, you pick your poison. I mean, listen, you're in the Final Four. You're playing against 4 of the best, 3 other the best teams potentially in the country. So you're going to have to pick your poison. You're not going to be able to shut everything down. You're not going to be able to hold them to 40 points, right? Like that's just not going to happen. It's good basketball teams. They're well-coached basketball teams. I mean, all of them, all four, and so, yeah, they had to make some adjustments. I mean, I think, like I said to you before we came on, it also probably helped LSU just a little bit because they saw how, like, okay, with South Carolina, we packed the paint, we dared them to shoot. And when you start going that through your head a little bit, and you're like, no, I'm like, as an LSU player, I think, I'm sure their coaching staff's like, listen, you're gonna get open shots, we gotta have to knock them down. And they did it today. Like I said, you can't stop everything on good teams. And I think, truthfully, I mean, and Morris in the fourth quarter really sealed it. I mean, she made some pro shots. I mean, Gabby was playing great defense. She's coming off a pick and roll where, again, you have to pick your poison. And when you make pro shots, I mean, off of a ball screen that's getting iced, and Gabby right on your hip nails it. She nails a floater with her Gabby right in her face. I think Hannah was stepping up too. I mean, it's just they made shots, and I mean, at that next level in basketball, especially, I know it's easy to sit here, oh, our defense wasn't great, but when you make them do something that they're not maybe as comfortable doing and they win, I mean, unfortunately, it's kind of how it goes. It's, good offense will always be good defense, and sometimes you just got to, like I said, tap them on the butt and, hey, that's a good shot, and you go down the other end, and it's kind of what happened today.
We're going to get to some of your calls as the Hawkeye fans who are on here. We got about 300 people on here. A reminder to share the stream out. Sam is giving of her time late night. Is it like, what, midnight out in Luxembourg? Is it 12:30?
Yeah, 12:30 just about.
Oh, so,
Wait,
yeah.
I'm old, so it's box. It's okay. No problems.
Before we get to our sponsor plug, and then we'll get to calls, Sam, can you kind of give people an update on your career? Because you are obviously a legend for this program, and you're still playing pro ball. What's your career overseas been like?
Yeah, it's year 8. So it's a little crazy to think that, I've been out of college twice as long as I've been in, like, as you were in college. So it's a little crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's my 8th year. Like I said, I've been in Luxembourg before, but I played in 5 or 6 countries. I was started in France. I played in Australia, Austria, Slovakia, Luxembourg, Bulgaria, back to Luxembourg. So it's been all over. So yeah, still out here trying to hoop, getting a little old now, but it still goes in the basket from time to time.
What's Luxembourg like?
Small. Luxembourg's a pretty small country. It's I want to say 800,000 people in total. It's really, for me, it's easy because from being from Wisconsin, it's about the size of Milwaukee County, like, population wise. Top to bottom, about an hour and a half drive. It's pretty small, wedged in between Belgium, Germany, and France. So it's kind of cool, like, location. You can travel like 20 minutes I'm in Germany, 30 minutes I'm in France, 40 minutes I'm in Belgium. So it's kind of a cool location travel wise. There's a lot of different people that live here. It's a lot of people come here for there's good banking and jobs, and there's good, it's healthcare, everyone's taken care of. They do a good job here. It's a beautiful country. It's like I said, it's diverse. It's got a lot going. It's pretty cool.
Well, no, I'm delighted to have you on here. I know a lot of Hawkeye fans want to talk to you here, despite the loss. But first, want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Iowa Smokehouse. And of course, they've been sponsoring our March Madness coverage. And now into April, they've got a special deal for folks right now with Caitlin Clark and this team's run. Despite the loss today, boy, Caitlin Clark has been a cheat code for this team. And with that being said, Iowa Smokehouse wants to offer you a cheat code. It's use that code Hawkeye for 15% off your order. And for a limited time only, if you use that code Hawkeye at iowasmokehouse.com, you'll get a free pack of 11-ounce Market Blend smoked meat sticks. Again, use that code Hawkeye. You'll get 15% off your total order, plus this free pack of Market Blend smoked meat sticks, courtesy of Iowa Smokehouse down in Albia. And of course, you'll still get the free shipping deal with a $50 order. Again, we appreciate Iowa Smokehouse and their awesome products. Tasting is believing. Visit iowasmokehouse.com for more information. All right, let's go to our call-in line. We'll go to Ryan on our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Corey. Hello, Sam. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
It's really cool that you call in, stay up late. As far as the game, I'm very proud of these ladies, and they did us very proud. Um, it's I was shocked that the South Carolina game was officiated as evenly as it was. I was expecting us to kind of get hosed. If you're looking around the internet right now, like I've been doing, a lot of national people are saying that the officiating was just god awful, and it was. It sure seemed to me like, number one, let's get Monica and Caitlin in big time foul trouble. You knew there was an agenda against Caitlin when they tee her up for nothing, didn't open her mouth.
Can't wait before you go on, right, Sam? I want to get your thoughts on the tee.
I think generally it's pretty soft. I think it's something that you probably can't do. I mean, I know throwing a ball like isn't ideal, right? I know
She didn't throw. In her
Right.
defense, she's a
No,
backwards dribble throw, if you
Yep.
want to call it that, in a moment like that with the best player in the world, best player in college basketball, and you're not throwing the ball at anybody. You have to understand. You have to have self-awareness as an official. She's got 3 personal fouls, and it is a personal foul in addition to being a technical. I just think lack of self-awareness on the part of the Zebras.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's pretty soft. I think, especially given the fact that she wasn't looking at an official. She didn't say anything to an official. She was walking the team huddle. Obviously, it was frustration. I don't think she was arguing the call. I don't think she, I think Monica got over there late on that one, on that help side, because we were fronting, and Mon just got over there a little late. But I think it's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one. I also am always saying, like, if it's a foul or a technical in the first quarter, I think you got to do it in the fourth quarter. So that was the third quarter. But in general, I think if you're officiating one way, I don't like when refs swallow their whistles at the end of games. So I think it's also tough to be like, oh, well, it's tough to just sit here and say, well, that shouldn't have been a tech because it's the best player in college basketball right now, too. So it's just a fine line. I think what it should have been was a pretty stern warning. You also can't just like let people throw the ball, because then as an LSU fan, like, oh, well, then if they did it, would it be a tech? In general, I thought it was just pretty soft, and it should have been a warning.
So let me make the other side of that argument real quick, Sam, because the other side of it would say, okay, fine, we officiate things the same way throughout the game. Then why is Kim Mulkey allowed to run basically to half court outside of her box every single play? There's a video that someone sent me during the game of her making contact with an official. I don't know if you saw that. So that's not consistency. I understand that it's not apples to apples with what Caitlin did, but if anything, it's what Caitlin did was less egregious than what LSU's head coach was doing the entirety of the game.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I think that's what's tough is I think, like you said, calling in, to be a good official is tough. I think if you call something on one side, you call it on the other. And I think that's what happened at the beginning of the game. And I think, like I said, just consistency so players and coaches can make adjustments is one of the most important things you can ask for. If it's a foul on that end, it's a foul on this end. If it's not a foul on that end, it's a foul, it's not a foul down there. And so I think, it was a tough call. It's not, like I said, not one I was super happy with sitting in my apartment now, but it's not one I think I wouldn't say unfair, but it's.
Well, real quick though, okay, towards the end of the game, and granted everything was pretty much, the game was already determined, like a minute to go. And Angel Reese and Caitlin are standing next to each other, lining up at the free throw line. And Angel Reese does the John Cena, you can't see me. Fine, no big deal. Caitlin did it real briefly in the Louisville game. It's not like she made a big circus about it, but yeah, she did it and got it back.
Hold on, Ryan, real quick. Ryan, not to interrupt you. Did she do it at Louisville? Did she taunt a player with that, or was that just?
She did it to Van Lith. Yeah, she did it to Van Lith.
Okay, I didn't know that. If she did it to Van Lith, then I have no problem with it. because
yeah.
you're taunting. I think should have gotten. That's more of a T than what Caitlin dribbling the ball backwards, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
But then, if you watch, and it's also on Twitter, if you watch the last 10 seconds of the game as they were just counting down and dribbling it out, Angel Reese was running around, getting in Caitlin's face, constantly doing this, constantly. And it's like, okay, you got me.
Mhm.
You got me. Fine.
Yeah.
You did it once. If that's not taunting, I mean,
Yeah.
fine. Call a T there.
Yeah.
Granted, the game was out of
Yeah.
control and it was determined, but the refs let that one go. But Caitlin lets the ball dribble out of bounds, doesn't say a word, and gets teed up for that. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry, and I know that it's kind of a controversial thing to say, but she's kind of the current Michael Jordan of women's basketball. And I said to my wife, the second it was clear they had an agenda to get her in foul trouble, the refs. And the second she fouls out, all people are going to turn off the TV. They're just not going to watch. She's brought women's college basketball. She's elevated it so much, and it's a great product. It really is.
Mhm.
But she's elevated it so much. I'm not saying if she has a legitimate foul, don't call it. I'd say 2 out of her 4 were legitimate fouls. But my goodness, you're putting her in foul trouble in the third quarter. You're running the risk of tuning viewers out, and the officiating was just horrendous. Like Angel Reese, I mean, she was climbing backs like crazy. She had at least 12 fouls that I counted, and she only was called for 3.
Now let's talk about basketball though for a second. And I agree with a lot of what you just said, Ryan. I also agree with Sam when she says the game needs to be officiated based on how the game is played, not based on who's playing in the game and what's going
Oh,
to
I
help
agree.
TV ratings and views. But Sam, rebounding. That is one thing. If you're talking about wanting to improve this program heading into next year, and what a run we can, I mean, I want this to be not only we're going to be disappointed by this loss, and there's a lot of upset Iowa fans. I get it, but we also have to celebrate the most incredible run in the history of this program. But if you're talking about taking this program to the next level, I have a couple needs, and I'd like to get your thoughts, Sam.
Mhm.
Rebounding, and I know they've played the 2 best rebounding teams in the country these last 2 games, but that seems to be a bit of a deficiency. You're losing Monica Sonano next year. I think you got a lot of question marks with Addison O'Grady, AJ Ediger, Sharon Goodman. They've got Ava Jones coming in, but her health is very much in question. Can you talk about what Iowa needs to do to improve that facet of the game?
Yeah, I think obviously, I mean, with South Carolina and LSU somewhat, I mean, they're big teams. I mean, South Carolina is just, they're massive down low, and like I said before, I mean, they know who they are, and they're like, you know what, we're not great shooters. We got to go get the rebound. Like you have to go. Like you have to go to the glass. You have to make up for maybe what is a deficiency offensively for them and use their strengths. I think offensive rebounding is 2 things, right? It's if you make a lot of shots, there's not a lot of opportunities. Okay, so Iowa makes a lot of shots. They're one of the most
Sure.
efficient offenses there are, and if not the most efficient offense in the country, right? And so all of a sudden, if you're making 50% of your shots, you only get 50% rebounds. Like there's only 50% of chances to get rebounds. So that kind of swings. Like if you go one way, the other one's going to go down. I think defensive rebounding, it's a lot about being physical. It's a lot about early work. It's going and meeting people outside the paint. It's sometimes just wanting the ball more, sometimes. And then obviously if you have 6'7", 6'3", 6'4", and your starting lineup, that's always going to make it tough. But you just got to go sometimes be a dog about it, And I think I think the future is pretty bright for Hannah. I really think that she has, it's going to bring really good stuff to the program. I think Addison also, I think she stepped up and played some pretty solid minutes for not
She had a
playing,
great game.
for not getting a lot of experience. Not a lot of experience, I mean, Monica has done such a good job. I mean, in the last 5 years. Like you're not, if you're playing behind her, you're not. It's like Monica when Megan was there. Like you're not getting those minutes because where are you going to take them from? When they're 70% from the field and whatever. But I think, like I said, I think it's just sometimes it's tough, and I think rebounding out of a zone is tough too. I mean, we play a lot of zone defense. Rebounding out of a zone is always more difficult too because you're not matched up to one person. People are cutting, who's rebounding that. But yeah, I think sometimes it's just like wanting to go get it. Who wants it more? And I think it's something that LSU and South Carolina both do a really good job at. Like like I said, they just go and get it. But they also, on the flip side, contrary to today, because LSU made big time shots and stuff, but like statistically, like they shoot 34% from three. So there's more rebounding opportunities too.
We do need to move on, but you have a parting shot for us, Ryan?
Really, I hope we get a good transfer portal to line up with Hannah next year. It's hard to believe, but with a year to go, Caitlin Clark's only 88 points away from breaking Megan's record, which is just insane. I never thought that one would break in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And then just finally, I apologize to Courtney Green. He is not the worst I've ever seen. Hey, thank you very much, Samantha, for being here, and good luck on your career, and stay safe out there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Do you know about Courtney Green, Sam, or do you know that name?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's a Big Ten official on the men's side that Hawkeye fans have it out for, because he seems to have it out for Fran's group. So
if I saw him, I'm sure I watched enough games to I mean, you recognize referees all the time, but
do you think officiating has gotten better or worse in this conference on both sides, men and women?
I don't know. I think the game is a lot faster. I don't know. It's a lot to look at. I mean, there's 10 people on the court and only 3 of you look and find every little thing. I think generally it's most of the time it's okay. You always say if you don't think about the officials, they do a good job. And I think it's a tough. Like I said, now everything's so offensive dominant. You can't put your hands on anybody. You can't. There's so many focus points for refs to look at. I think it's hard to. I mean, you can't I'm sure they send them 20 new points every year. It's I think it was my junior year, or maybe senior year, where I saw as soon as you put 2 hands on them, it's a foul, and I'm like, they can't call that every time. That's not, right. And it's not displacing someone to me. That's not a hot stove touch. Okay. But if I put 2 hands on you, that does, there's just a lot to look at. It's a lot to look at. It's hard to be a good official. And I think generally most of the time, I mean, if you really think of it, you don't think about the refs that much. I mean, I talk much. I have my whole life and I've been yelled at it for my whole life, but it's a tough job. It is. It's a tough job, but it's hard when they get it wrong. It's a tough thing to swallow when they are wrong.
I don't think he would mind me sharing this, folks. So Coach Gary Close, former Iowa men's assistant Gary Close, who we have on for every men's game during the regular season, he usually, Sam, when I ask him about officiating after a men's game, he says, "Man, I didn't think it was that bad." Yeah. He says that almost every time I bring it up. He sent me a text today at the conclusion of this game, and I don't think he minds me sharing this. He says, and I quote, "Now that was horrible officiating."
Yeah.
So take that for what you will, folks. That's Coach Gary Close, who, by the way, we're going to have on tomorrow after the men's national championship. But thank you for the super chat, Lemansky. So proud of the seniors. We'll miss them. Still champs this season. Gals carried the Big Ten flag proudly, absolutely, and lots to be proud of. And it was brought up on that previous call with Ryan. The future is bright. I don't think Hannah Stuelke played great this tournament, Sam. And I don't know if that's just part of the growing pains, but her upside is tremendous. And I know she dealt with an injury midway through the tournament as well. But the future is bright, and they've got a good class coming in. They've got a really good class coming in 24. And the transfer portal, I would think that the portal and for portal entries, I would think it's very attractive to play alongside Caitlin Clark. Now, if you're a ball first type of guard, maybe not. But boy, who wouldn't want to play as Caitlin Clark's post right now? And if you're Iowa, I mean, I like Addison O'Grady, Sam, but if you're Iowa, your job is to load this roster and create competition. Why not bring in a post that can battle Addison and battle the rest of these centers, and may the best lady win?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, the transfer portal makes everything interesting. And I mean, I think Coach Bluter's capable of doing it. It also is, I mean, like what Kim Mulkey did this year with 9 transfers is unbelievable. I mean, thinking of your offenses and your defenses and think of getting 4 freshmen or 5 freshmen a year cohesive with a team. And then all of a sudden, like now, like I said, it's credit to LSU. They have 9 people that have never played together before. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
You know, so it's always a tough, like, balance of that. But I mean, you get a good post. I mean, if you're a good post, you're a good post. If you're a good basketball player, like, Galen's going to find ways to get you the ball, right? I mean, you want to play with a gamer. You want to win. You want to play with someone that just doesn't want to lose, like hates losing. Like, I mean, it's a shiny prospect, you know. I mean, Iowa City, and I mean, I think obviously the fans, who I don't think we've talked about much either, are insane. Like, how many freaking Hawk fans were in Dallas? Like, it's not that far, but it's not that close. Like, it's not that, you know, it's a great place to play. I mean, you're sold out. Having no pro sports, like, it put them on the map even more. I think they have been. I think people know about, I mean, especially in the Big Ten, you know, who has good fans and who has bases. I mean, you know, like us, we know Iowa State, they have good, you know, that's a good fan base. That's good. They love women's basketball in the state of Iowa. So, I mean, like I said, it's a shiny prospect, and the portal could make things definitely interesting. It makes everything interesting now.
All right, let's go back to our phone lines. Thank you for calling our Iowa postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's calling into our Iowa Smokehouse line?
Hey, Corey, it's Ryan. How are you?
Good, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I really take this as a tremendous privilege to talk to Samantha Logic. I was living in Madison, Samantha, when you were playing at Racine.
Okay.
And I remember you well when you were in high school. And boy, oh boy, I want to tell you something. I was fired up when you committed to Iowa.
Yeah.
And you've been my favorite player ever since. And I want you to know that.
I appreciate that.
I wanted to ask you, because I'm going to be critical of you a little bit, so bear with me.
Hit
How
me with
many
it.
games of the Iowa team have you watched this year other than today?
I would say, I would guess around 10. You know,
Okay, then I'm going to be off base. Because
8,
what I was
10.
going to say to you was that I thought, you know, the officiating was a factor today for Iowa.
Mhm.
There's no doubt about it. And the reason I say that isn't because that Iowa deserved to win the game. They did not. They were outplayed, they were outshot, and they didn't defend. And
Mhm.
this all happened in the first half. But
Yeah.
the problem is, here's my problem with this game today. Iowa has demonstrated in the Big Ten Conference this year that they've been able to play physical and they've been able to adapt to multi-defenses. Now, it's a disadvantage when you're playing the third team from the same conference.
Mhm.
And that was a huge disadvantage for Iowa today. And it was the problem South Carolina had. I told MVP Hawk, I forget his name. Come on, Corey, help me out here. DeReal, MVP. He said, you know, that Iowa would lose to South Carolina. And I said, no, they would not. Because I didn't think that South Carolina would be able to beat 2 Big Ten schools back to back. And Iowa's coaches put a great game plan in for South Carolina. And that's exactly what LSU did today. And it was the SEC's third shot to do it.
Mhm.
And they did it. And they were successful. But the problem is the officials took Iowa out of their rhythm. And they did it at a critical time when it was down to 7 points that Iowa was down at that critical moment where they closed the gap from being 21 down
Yeah.
after them having a phenomenal first half shooting performance and took them out of their rhythm, took them out of their momentum. It's a game of runs and momentum. And I'm sorry, but the officials took them out of that. They did. Now, would they have won the game? I don't know. We'll never know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you something. All of America today tuned into this game to see the Iowa team play. And Corey's right in that Caitlin is a phenomena that's incredible. What you are to me, Caitlin is to America. I mean, everybody has just, been dazzled, beyond belief by this girl. And the accolades that she's received from black athletes that are NBA stars, like Magic Johnson and others, is phenomenal. So it's too bad the people there today didn't pay that kind of money for a seat, to see her sit on the bench. And that's how I feel about it.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you for the call, Ryan, and quite a compliment to Sam to say that she is to you what Clark is to the country. So thank you for the call, Ryan.
No, really, truly, you were phenomenal, and it was fun to watch. Well, I'll let you get back to other callers, Corey. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I knew that would be the response from some people, and here's an LSU fan in the chat says, I'm an LSU fan. These officials were horrible, and I do think, I mean, in that first quarter, I talked about Kim Mulkey being out in the court. She was out in the court a lot because she was disagreeing with calls, and it is I do see it from the other side of this too, Sam. That although you have to officiate things fairly and call fouls, like, at some point you don't want the story of a game to be officiating. And when that's the top story on the ESPN halftime report, that probably is a sign to that officiating crew that, hey, we probably didn't do our best in the first half.
Yeah, no, like I said, you don't want refs to be, and I don't think they want to be the storyline either, right? Like they don't want to, I mean, they have processes of making it to the final 4 games. And I mean, they go through film and they get critiqued, and I mean, they try to get the best of the best through the tournament, like when we advance, like refs advance, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Like they move on up the chain too. And, yeah, it's really unfortunate. Like I said, I just think that, especially Monica's first couple and really Reese's first couple they're just not there. I mean, it didn't seem like they were there. And Hawk fan, Tiger fan, whatever, you want, like I said, you do want to see Caitlin play. You want to see Angel Reese on the floor. You want to play like the All-Americans. You want to see him play. Obviously it doesn't always work out like that. And like I said, I really just think I was super, super impressed with Carson coming in and just being game ready. It was an impressive showing for her. But yeah, no, the reffing you just don't want to be talking about the reffing. You want to be talking about the game planning. You want to be talking about like I said, you want to be talking about, even if it's on the losing side for us, like Carson, or you want to talk about the defense of Gabby Marshall or Caitlin hitting 8 for 16 from 3. Like you want those to be the storylines. And I just, like you said, it's on right now on Twitter. I'm sure that's not, I don't do Twitter, but I'm sure that's what's trending or whatever it's called.
Why don't you do Twitter, Sam?
I don't really do social media that much. I didn't even have an Instagram. I was convinced for an Instagram after I graduated, and it's just, you're wasting a lot of time on social media. I'm not a social media gal.
I told you prior to you being on here, I admire the heck out of that, because social media, I think, is well, I mean, this show wouldn't exist if it weren't for social media. So I acknowledge the benefits of it, but the world's a different place with social media. That's a conversation for a different day. I do want to get your take on when you look at how Angel Reese plays. She's dominant on the glass, and we talk about South Carolina all we want. How would you have defended her? And I'm not just talking about boxing out and hustle, but how do you stop her down low? I know that's easier to ask than answer.
Well, yeah, and it's definitely easier said than done too, right? I mean, what do you do to stop Aaliyah Boston? Well, you box her out. But like, okay, she's a force. Like I said, and Reese too. I mean, she might even be a more aggressive rebounder just for her size. I mean, she has, it's just those people that have a knack for the ball. It's like Kashina Alexander when she played for Iowa, like 5'9", just rebounded. She has a nose for it. You have to box her out. And I think it's tougher when, obviously for post, like if you're close to the basket, to turn and hit and box out like that close to the basket's tough. I mean, also if you're playing off of somebody a little bit, I mean, she's athletic enough and she finishes well enough, I think, with both hands for being left-handed, that you can't like really just push up on her either. She uses her her length and her size and her speed to get to the rim. So sometimes I don't love sagging off of post players like that because it's so much further to box out then. You know, it's if I'm 5 feet off of you and letting you shoot, like you get that running start to box out. But if I'm up on you, like it's a pick your poison thing. Like, am I going to let her maybe blow by me a couple times for a couple easy layups or get a couple offensive rebound and kickouts, you know? But yeah, I think you just have to be physical. I think you have to try to set the tone early. I mean, she's going to be physical. She does a great job of it. And I think trying to set the tone early with like really just hitting, and maybe I don't get the rebound, but like this is how you got to think, like team rebounding, like, right. I might not get the rebound if I'm boxing her out, but someone else has to come in and swing it off the glass. Cause we can't have her get it. Cause she's so good.
I do want to go back to officiating for a second and ask your question on perspective on a specific rule that was implemented this year. And that is the flop rule.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't even remember the last time I saw, and I watched every Iowa women's basketball game this year. I think it was implemented a lot more on the men's side earlier in the season. I'm sure it was called on the women's side because I'm assuming it's in the rule book. Maybe I'm making an ignorant statement in saying that, but do you feel like the calls like that, like how do you feel about the flop rule? Because it seems like as the season went on, it was called less and less and less, and it puts the officials in a very difficult position. I thought there were a couple tonight that could have been called flops.
Yeah. Is it, well, what do you get? Like, is it just like a warning and then a technical? Is that usually what
this year, and again, I'm speaking sort of out of turn because I guess I can't tell you 1000% that
Right.
it's the same on the women's side, but on the men's side, this was the first year where it's an automatic T.
Okay.
So it's a big call, and it's hard to make in the moment.
Right.
I don't remember. Again, it's been a long time since I've even seen that called on the men's side. They were calling it left and right in November and December. I know Gary Close said he hated the call because it's just as hard to officiate fairly. But there has been a problem. I think that's something the officials are trying to eliminate is the overacting that occurs, especially on block charge situations.
Right.
I just think it puts the officials in a more compromised situation.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's already, like you said, the block charge is one of the hardest calls in college basketball. And I would assume, I mean, with the flop, that would be probably take over it. I mean, people are creative. I mean, you watch James Harden, LeBron, you watch all of them now, like it's part of the sport. Like but it's becoming like soccer. Like, okay, I'm sorry for soccer fans, but listen, y'all, like when they're down on the ground for like 3 minutes grabbing their shin and then go run, like you're ridiculous. Like you're being soft and trying to sell a call, which I get. But yeah, I think it's hard to put on the officials because officiating is already so subjective, right? Like what I see, what I like feel, is this person been doing it the whole game? Have they been trying to sell calls? Are they really getting hit? How strong is the player that, you know, is hitting them? Like so many factors go into it. I think it's tough to, like I said, put on the officials' plate. And I'm sure early in the year, we talked about, like there's points of emphasis, and I'm sure that was really high up there. So early in the season, like they're really trying to execute the points of emphasis from whatever association it is. Maybe it's just NCAA, but I think it's just a tough call, like to do. I think the more you call it, though, the less people are going to do it. Like, you know, the less. I mean, I'm not trying to oversaturate it with flopping calls and give people tees left and right, but I mean, the more you call them, I can't fall just because now, because if it's a technical, it's an important, you know, like the NBA, like they fine them. What is it, like $5,000 or something? Which to them maybe not that much money, but like it's incentive though to not do it. Like it's incentive to like, I don't want to flop there. It's not worth that.
Speaking of incentive and fines, do you get fined for making comments to the media about officiating in Europe?
No.
How much media do you have to interact?
Yeah, it depends on the games. I mean, there's and it depends on the countries, you know, how popular like women's basketball is and stuff. But no, I don't think you would get fined. I think in Europe, everyone's very much more blunt though. Like, hey Sam, like you sucked today, pretty much. Like someone would say, like, oh, you know, you didn't deserve to win, or like, oh, your team shouldn't have won that game. Like, people are very just like they say what they think instead of like trying to sugarcoat things, which I kind of like. But no, you don't really. I think usually most of the time, most teams feel the same way about the officials, so it's really not talked about all the time as much, like media wise, you know.
Yeah. Was there ever a time where you said something to the media when you were at I mean, you were pretty you were not you were not an edgy player. Like you had an edge on the court, but like you weren't somebody who was going to rip officiating after the game. Did you ever get warned or anything ever said to you behind closed doors after saying something to the media?
Oh no, I look at that. I don't think I ever said anything that edgy. I mean, most of the time I probably just believe that if we lost, we probably sucked and deserved to lose. Most of the time, I mean, most games aren't decided by him. Given that, like, maybe they did suck, but I mean, there's things that you can control too. Like, did you suck more than the officials? Maybe we sucked more than the officials, So it's like, I think that we tried to do. I mean, I think Coach Bluter always did a good job. Like, that's what we can control. What can we control our turnover? Can we control our offensive rebounds? Can we control like stupid shots? Things like that. So I think what you focus on is what becomes more relevant to you. And I mean, we've just always you try to take responsibility for what you can do, and like I said, you can't always control that, even though it feels like you want to.
Yeah. We do appreciate Sam's time this evening. I'm going to hang out with people a little bit longer. We've got 2 more callers. We want to run through these callers before we bid Sam adieu. I know it's late over in Luxembourg, Sam. So again, thank you for being with us. Let's get to our caller who's been on hold for a length of this show. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here, our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
So I just wanted to say a few nice things, and then I'm going to say some not so nice things.
Okay.
Keep it just
please keep it G rated.
I'll keep it G rated.
Okay.
Good enough.
First of all, I thought LSU, I mean, the way they shot the ball, there's not much. 2 banked three-pointers in the game. It was like they were just hitting everything 65% from the 3-point line. Not much you could do about that. Also, they had a big rebounding edge. And I also wanted to say this Hawkeye team, I've been watching Hawkeye sports my whole life. This has to be, the most inspiring team that I've had the most respect and admiration for. So I'm very, very proud of them, even though they lost this game. But the way that the game was officiated, I do think there was a huge disparity there. The LSU's coach basically pretty much swinging or grabbing at the ref, nothing being called there. Just the calls were not going the Hawkeyes' way, and they could not get into an offensive or defensive flow from the start. And that's pretty much a huge factor in the game. And I'll keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to say anything else.
Oh, you're not going to get paid, caller. You're not going to get fined.
No, fine.
Okay, I'm not going to. I could say a few more things, but you said keep it G-rated. I'm going to try to keep it G-rated.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you calling, and again, you're not alone in how you're feeling this evening.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think that call is indicative of the frustrations out there tonight, Sam. And I think as Iowa fans, you're going to be disappointed regardless. You get to this stage, and what an accomplishment! Again, it's never been done in the history of the program. I think a lot of fans, including myself, are sitting there late in the game thinking, if you lose, you lose. But to feel like the officials really did play a major factor, that's the frustrating thing. But again, you got to give LSU credit. Made 11 threes in the game. Now, 9 of those, I believe, were in the first half. I don't have the official final box score. I'll grab that once we say goodbye to Sam. But, they shot the ball from 3 really well. They were solid from the free throw line, obviously well on rebounding. Not quite as big of a disparity there as I anticipated. Nothing like the South Carolina game 2 nights ago. 37-26, the final. Offensive rebounding, 14-7, of course, in favor of LSU. I think one major factor was 16 turnovers from Iowa. Got a little loose with the basketball. Those hurt, especially when you're trying to make a comeback. At one point, we didn't talk about this. Iowa was down 21 in the third quarter, Sam. They given up, I think, 4 straight points to start the second half to get that deficit to 21. And then they make a push, and all of a sudden, like 2 minutes later, it's a 12-0 lead, and I was right back in it. What were your thoughts at that moment in the game?
Oh, well, here, buckle up. Like, here we go. You know, that's what we were, I was watching it with, like I said, a couple friends over here. And I was like, hey, like, we got a game now. I got to 8 and I got to 7. Then it went, you know, LSU answered every time. We got it back to 8 a couple times. And I was like, hey, we got a shot. I thought I was like, we still can do it. I think we're an experienced team. I think the announcers had 92 games straight. This core has started together. So I don't think they were going to get too like flustered with anything. I mean, like LSU shot 9 from 12 from 3 in the first half. I mean, not disrespectful to them, but no one shoots like that. So, you know, that's going to come down average wise. So I think they were going to stay calm. I was a little nervous then, you know, coming in when they scored those 4 unanswered to start, and you said down 21, but they stay calm. They stay together. It's nothing new that they had. It's nothing fancy that they did. They found each other. They hit shots. That stuff they've been doing all year. So I was ready for the run. You know, like I said, LSU answered it, but in a couple tougher calls officiating. But I mean, they stuck together. They didn't get. I don't think they got too rattled, which I think is pretty impressive. I mean, you know, when you're on that big of a stage and you know people are watching and you know a lot of people pulling for you. You know, there's a lot going on, but they stuck together, and I mean, not that I expect anything less. I mean, they've done that. Coach Bluter's teams tend to do that. Like that's the kind of people we have in the program, and I was just proud of them. It was like I said, it's not what you want. Like, and I said here, like one team in the country ends their season winning a game.
Yep.
Well, NIT, okay.
Right.
But I mean, you're trying to get to the NCAA tournament. So one team. So like you win your conference. Then you go until you lose. And one team out of, well, okay, 2, 3, CBI, whatever, all these freaking tournaments are. You have one winner, okay? Damn it. You have one winner that wins what you want to win. And the other 340, whatever it is, like they don't. And we're on that side. But I mean, like I said, you're in the Final Four, in the top 2 in the country in this thing. And you battle. It's a national championship game, and that's what they did.
Can they get back there, Sam? I know you're going to say yes, but I mean, is that realistic to think that this program can get back there as long as Caitlin is here?
Well, Caitlin's there. I mean, anything's possible. The girl drops. How many points do you have this tournament? Like 200? My Lord. Like
something ridiculous.
Something ridiculous, and shooting efficiently. Because I think she's just going to keep getting better. I mean, more attention is going to go on her. I think they're capable. I mean, because listen, Iowa makes shots. They can play with anybody. I mean, literally anybody in the country and beat anybody. And now I think it's going to start turning that tide of like, well, now teams have to play with them. You know, like it's that next standard of, okay, we can play with anybody, but like, can anyone play with us? You know, that was what the UConn, you know, South Carolina has, like, oh, can we compete with them? Yes, we proved that now. So now we want to just sustain that excellence of, we want to be in those conversations of like, can teams hang, you know? And yeah, I think they can. I mean, like you said, I think obviously when you're losing all Big Ten post that shoots 110% from the field, like you're going to have it's a big spot to fill. But I mean, Megan left and Monica stepped right in. I mean, it was a seamless transition. I think Coach Jay just gets them ready. Like, I mean, all the coaches, but for the post specifically, like that's like kind of you would say the question mark just because of the lack of experience. But I mean, we've had a good post player for 7 years in a row or something like that. I mean, it's just,
does it concern you at all that we didn't see a big jump from Addison from last year to this year?
I don't know if I would say concern. I mean, I thought, like I said, I think she played solid in her minutes that she had. Like she hasn't gotten the opportunity much. I mean, they gave a lot of minutes to Hannah when Mon was out, like getting her rest and stuff. I mean, they play a 4-guard offense, so like you don't really need like 3 big posts that are going to play 25 minutes each. Like that's just not how it's been done. And it could happen, right? Like, I mean, people can make jumps and stuff, but I think she played solid. It's a big body. I think good hands, like moves pretty well. She has good form. I mean, you have a whole summer to work on it. And like now there's a spot open. It's like, who's going to go grab it? You know, you're going to kind of see who wants to compete for that spot and compete for those minutes. And I don't think I would say I'm really necessarily concerned, because I don't think when she was playing, I wasn't like, oh hell, you know, like I didn't feel that way. I was like, you know, she competed, she did her job. Like she came in it's a tough spot to be in. You don't play a lot of minutes, like literally all year. And you're coming in the Final Four. She had Final Four championship game. You played big minutes, and there wasn't that. I mean, wasn't some crazy drop off where it's like, okay, they went on a 12-0 run, So I think it could be bright for, like I said, her and Hannah. I think we might be all right.
Let's get to our final caller before we let Sam slide. Let's see. We got James on our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. James, welcome back.
How you doing?
I'm all right, man.
First off, I want to say for everybody, like, obviously losses suck, right? But to get there is something, that you might never forget. You know what I mean? As a fan, you might never forget. Like, yes, we lost, but you always got to look at it as like this was an opportunity for us to put our state on the map. What I mean by that is like people don't know where Iowa's at. Some people don't. You go somewhere, some people don't know where Iowa's at. You know what I mean? Like, Caitlin has everybody watching us as a state. And I think that's something that people just look at like, oh, well, we lost. Yeah, we lost. Yeah, this happened. But like, they're letting us know where she's letting us people know where I was at, and like that we are here, and that we do have people that can play athletically with other people. Because I know growing up here, a lot of people said, oh, you're not good enough to go big time. You're not good enough to do this. You're not good enough to do that. You know what I mean? And she's an Iowa kid who's obviously proving that you can be good enough coming from the state to do that.
And James, we talk about athleticism and upside. We've talked about Hannah Stolke. She's going to be a lot better next year, and she's an Iowa native. So, yeah, you're right about that.
And one thing, too, they talked about the whole Angel Reese issue about her tongue and whatever, walking behind her, doing all that stuff. I don't really care about that as much, and I love the way Caitlin handled it. Caitlin said, I didn't even notice that. I was just trying to get in the handshake line. Like, she's like, it's a part of the game. Like, you just don't worry about it. And like, I like that, that's kind of the mindset you need to have in that. The one thing I don't like is that they didn't go through the handshake line. LSU didn't. I don't respect that. I feel like that's kind of disrespectful, where it's like
typical, though? Isn't that kind of typical for when you win a title?
No.
Okay.
We were lined up though. Like, everybody was lined up waiting, and they just walked off.
Okay. Well, I mean, they can line up if they want. Is that not typical for a title when you win a championship, Sam? That you're celebrating in mid-court, or how does that?
I haven't won a Big Ten title, or I haven't won a title in the state, so that I wouldn't know. I can't speak. Unfortunately, we didn't. Like I said, won some Big Ten titles, or obviously not a national title. When I was there, overseas we do it. I mean, you celebrate and you normally shake hands. I feel like, again, ideally you want them, right? You want them to like come shake hands and say good game, but like also.
But you're the one that won. You think you would want to shake hands more if you're LSU? You're the one that won. I was one that lost. Yeah. You think they'd be more, more down, more depressed when they're the ones that lost? You get what I'm saying? Like,
no,
I've never seen the winning team do it.
But you're also like, okay, how many brackets had South Carolina winning the championship? Right, 8,
probably
90,
all of them.
Right, like whatever. Yeah. So you beat. I mean, and really, so South Carolina's not in there. No one's. I mean, and then after that game against for Iowa, like all the experts picked the Hawks. Like they were like, they're riding this high. Like, so they have that little chip on their shoulder too, and they just proved it. And I think you're celebrating with your team. I mean, like I said, ideally you want them to come shake your hand. I think, and it's not like some perfect world of like, okay, they should have done it. Maybe should they have? Yeah. I don't think I'd be like too salty. I'd probably be salty about it after I was losing. Like if it was me on the court and you're not shaking my hand, I'd probably feel some type of way about it. But like as a fan right now and still as a player, like I can understand it. I'm not, like I said, it's not some ideal situation. Like don't shake their hands after you. But again, the confetti's falling. Like everything you've worked for your whole life just happened, right? Like
does Sam Logic have a bit of a soft spot for Kim Mulkey, Sam?
No, I don't. I don't have a soft spot.
Okay, good.
She was so happy winning. She was so happy winning. I mean, these coaches put so much time and effort into everything, and it's just, and I think it's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, I don't even say I would say like I'm some big Kim Mulkey fan, right? But I mean, you can tell how much she cares about her kids, right? Like she's crying, like she's won it 3 times already. Right. Like, and that feeling for her, again, for her state, like she's from Louisiana, she played at La Tech, like she came back home to do this for her state, And so I think you can see like the emotion and just how much energy and stuff you're putting into your players. Like that came out and before the game was even over, kind of like we said, when the deal was sealed. And then in the interview with Holly Rowe after the game. She was speechless, and that's kind of crazy, right? Like, I mean, she's won it 3 times before. So, I mean, like I said, you just can tell how much effort coaching staffs and invest into their players and into the game of women's basketball.
Anything else, James?
No, I was gonna say, also I seen that Lisa Bluter was talking. She was like the ref. She didn't say anything about the ref. She's like, I can't speak on that. So obviously she couldn't. But some people were wondering about that. She said I can't speak on that. So, but for me, it's like obviously I don't understand how. And I get it's not part of the game. We should stop the 3 better. We didn't defend the 3 very well. We left them open. They hit their shots. That's good on them. They did what they needed to do in a basketball game, and all respect to them. Like, you play basketball and you win the game because they outplayed us, so they kind of deserve to win in my eyes, But I don't understand how you have a coach literally running on the court. She ran into the ref. She literally, there's one picture where she was above. You know how they have like the thing on the side,
Coach's box.
No, not the coach's box. They have like the print or whatever, like the sponsorship.
Oh yeah.
She was standing in front of the sponsorship while the ball was in the other half, like standing literally in front of it. And I'm like, bro, how are you halfway on the court and they don't give you a technical?
Yeah.
I just don't understand that. It's like, I get that's not the biggest purpose. Like, if Fran were to do that, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're done. We're done.
Right, wrong, indifferent. Fran has a little reputation preceding him a little bit more too. Maybe Mulkey does something. I don't know about as much.
What's Kim Mulkey's reputation, Sam?
That's what I mean. No, I mean, I don't know if it's.
Here's what I don't like about Kim Mulkey, Sam. I don't mean to make this into a Kim Mulkey show, but Kim Mulkey, I have no doubt she loves her players.
Yeah.
But what I see from a fan's perspective on the other side of it is I see a person who's obsessed with making everything about herself. And that I don't like when we're talking about the college level. When the first question yesterday, pre-national championship, is about Kim Mulkey's outfit, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that at the college level. And so, maybe she loves her players. Nothing against that. Yeah. I'm sure Angel, it looks like her players love her. She obviously knows how to coach. Right. She gets here as multiple programs. Exactly. I have a problem with her seeming to make everything about herself. She comes out in tiger print tonight, whatever. That I just needed to say that because I am not a Kim Mulkey fan.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Like I said, I mean, I'm not a fan of the outfits. I mean, like I said, do your thing. Not to wear wild stuff. It's almost like almost connecting to like social media. Like the more of a presence you feel, like everyone knows her though, in the women's basketball world, like because of her outfit. So maybe that's the one thing that's like, I am a good coach. I care about my players. Like, this is how I'm going to stand out. Like I said, I'm not here like, oh, she's the greatest thing since sliced bread because of it. Right. But I mean, it's something that it's a tactic, it's like, and maybe she does just like dressing like that. I have no idea. I would assume not, but maybe she does. But like everyone knows her. And I mean, for whatever reason that is, it's true. And like you said, you win 4 championships, but people talk about your outfits. I said maybe it's not the most ideal. I'm not bold enough to wear. I'd be very much like Blues was, like, black and like simple, but tactics, man, they stick in your head. Like I said, you know who she is.
Sam is just really politically correct and doesn't want to offend anybody tonight. We're going to have to wait till you retire, Sam, because then you're going to feel a lot more free to just take shots.
Trust me, I'm quite. It's true. I literally said that to, like I said, I had Amanda Cahill over. I don't know if you remember that name, from Indiana. Amanda Cahill plays in Luxembourg too, and we were over here and like, yeah, man, those outfits are wild. But I'm like, listen, everyone knows who she is, and maybe because of the outfits, but she can coach. Like that woman, she's proven it. She's won national championships, and maybe if that catches a recruit's attention, then. Hell, who am I to tell her not to do it? I don't know. I think it's a little wild, right? But whatever floats your boat, man.
I think the outfit. I'll say this. I think the outfits fit the personality and the way she comes. I just do. I mean, I just think,
Yeah,
anyway.
probably. Like I said, I've never spoke. They ended on my career at Baylor, so that was a little. So no soft spots for sure, but I mean, she can coach. That's what I mean. And I'm a person, like, I'm about basketball, right? Like, I'm about playing. So, like, how'd the game go? I want it, like I said, that's why you don't want officiating to be part of it, because you want the players that should be, like, have deserved and earned that right to play. But like, I want to talk X's and O's. I want to pick brains of things. Like, all the extra stuff is just extra. I don't do social media. Why? Because it's not X's and O's. Like, it's like, You know what I mean? I'm just like a pretty straightforward person with it. So it's like, she can do what she wants. Like, I'm gonna worry about mine over here. She has hers over there, you know?
You're also from the Midwest, right? So like,
Right.
it
Also,
has an influence.
yo, my mom would be crazy. Like, if I dressed in something like that, she'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I hope my family would check me first. You know, like, you got to know your people. Like, don't be doing that. But
Yeah.
she's the boss, though. She can do whatever she wants, I guess.
James, any
Well,
final?
yeah, one more, a couple more. Just I have two more quick things. First off, I know they're not gonna watch this, but Monica and McKenna, we're gonna appreciate them no matter what, and appreciate everything they did for the University of Iowa. And to me, I see people in the chat trying to rile up stuff. It's not no riling up. We put our best effort out there, and they beat us. That's what happens. It's part of the game, and just live on with it. And I thank you to those, and hopefully people don't leave in the portal, but if they leave as well, I also appreciate them for everything they've done to help us get to the point we did. And hopefully next year we can. I mean, it's kind of hard to bounce back next year when you make the finals. It's kind of hard to say bounce back when you make the finals unless you win it all.
Yeah.
But anyways, hopefully we have another good year next year and just keep on moving. The sun comes up and the sun comes up tomorrow. And we just keep living our lives. That's how it works. So some way you can look at it. And thank you for being on here, Sam. Obviously, I'm not old enough to. I know who you are, but I'm not old enough to. I don't know to see you play, but I know who you are. So
You're not that
obviously,
James. How old? You're not that.
20. Yeah, but I didn't start watching like women's basketball until like recently at Iowa as much.
Okay.
So
That's gonna make Sam feel way too old.
30, yo, but it's okay. I'll let it slide.
no, but I mean, it's all right. Yeah, I just didn't watch women's basketball until recently when I feel like I kind of understood more things. And now that I'm a high school basketball coach, I kind of understand a little bit more about the game. So it's a little bit more fun to watch. But anyways, enjoy your night. And the sun comes up tomorrow. Just remember that no matter what. And everybody that will say something, they can say whatever they want. They won a national championship. Congrats to them. And there's no crying. Just hold your head up high and we'll be all right.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you,
hard.
James. Appreciate the call, sir. All right, folks, we're going to let Sam slide. I'm going to be here for the next hour or so, taking calls, taking comments in the chat, and talking about this game, the future. We can talk a little bit about the men, although the plan is to be live after the men's championship tomorrow. Samantha Logic, I greatly appreciate, I know the fans greatly appreciate seeing you. It's been a while, and don't be such a stranger. I know you're across the globe.
Yeah.
How long do you plan on going? I'm not trying to push you into retirement, but how long do you plan on staying pro?
It always depends. You're always like, okay, one more year. And then all of a sudden you're at year 8, No, I think, truthfully, probably one more. I think that's what my wife and I are kind of thinking. But like I said, who knows? I mean, it could be. But if I had to bet money on it, I'd say probably one more trip around and then maybe something else, I guess. But then you got to figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life besides play basketball, So then that's not like always ideal either.
Right. Well, we greatly appreciate you having you on, and you're always welcome on this show. We'll talk to you. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you next season and maybe recapping another historic Iowa run.
Hey, love to it. I'd love if that's the case.
Thank you, Sam. Have a great night.
You too.
Take care. All right, folks. Greatly appreciated. Iowa legend, Hawkeye legend, Sam Logic joining us for the last hour here at from the Hawkeye of the Storm on our Iowa postgame coverage. We're continuing here, taking your calls, taking your chats and comments. So don't log off yet. We've got lots to get to. Look at Tony dropping a bombshell here with the I almost said Iowa Smokehouse. We'll let Iowa Smokehouse sponsor the Tony Schneider super chat. Thank you, Tony. $1 for every point Caitlin scored in the NCAA tournament. All right. Well, that's I'm going to take that, even though I had nothing to do with those points. Let's go to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line and speak of the devil. There he is, Tony. Look at you. How are you, Tony?
Hey, can you hear me fine?
You sound sick, but I can hear you.
It's I was in Arizona last week, and now I'm back to Sioux Falls, and the allergies catch up with you when you get that drastic, difference in the temperatures and stuff.
Well, let's not forget too. Big windstorm, big storm a couple days ago. You had hail. Yeah. It stirred up the trees, and it messed things up. And we've had up and down weather, so I understand. But so you're at home right now. You're dealing with this loss. Okay, I assume.
Yeah, I I was ready for everything. I went across the border, which was about a 30-minute drive because I live in Sioux Falls. I bought my Iowa to win it all ticket. I did that when I'm a Cubs fan too, so I bought my cheapy ticket when they won it in 16, and it was only $5 to win $8, so it wasn't that much. It was just going to be more commemorative. Sorry, excuse me. It wasn't meant to be like I'm going to make a profit off of Iowa winning. But a lot of people have brought up. Bluter was asked a lot of baiting questions in the press conference. Like they asked her about the officials, and she said she never felt like the officials even let her have a word. Like she tried to talk to. Yeah, they did. No, I mean they did, but like she expressed that in the press conference.
Good.
That
Good.
It was very frustrating that she tried to just talk to them, and she felt like they didn't even listen to him.
You know what I would
to
do?
her. I'm sorry.
You know what I would do if I would? Well, Gary Barta. You know what I would do if I was the Iowa administration, Tony? I would say, well, and it's too late now, but I would have said to Lisa, you say what you need to say in the post-game press conference. And as long as we're not, no personal attacks on a person's character, and you say what you need to get the point across because it's the biggest stage and these officials dropped a deuce in center court of this game. I would say you say whatever you need. And then in 2 weeks, when we announce that we're giving you your salary a boost because of your performance, we're going to double whatever the fine is from the NCAA. So you're going to get your bonus, plus you're going to get enough to cover whatever the fine. Yeah. That's what I would have done. Because at some point, the officials need to be held accountable. We talk about this in the men's side all the time. Officials are not held accountable. And I'm not saying that Iowa would have won this game if it hadn't been for officiating, but it would have been a lot closer. And I'm just sick of officials not being held accountable. That's what I would do. No, Gary Barta doesn't run that department by logic. So I don't expect him to make a decision like that.
But I could call him a good friend of yours, but a good friend of yours, Brad, might run by logic. And I bet you Brad Heinrichs, the swarm guy, like the guy who got on, I bet you he could get enough in the swarm to cover whatever fine. Like if he said, we're going to let Bluter go scorched earth on this game in a press conference.
He cannot pay Lisa Bluter.
Okay, gotcha. I'm sorry. I didn't know the lookout.
I know Lisa Bluter can't donate to the swarm. I don't believe that the NIL that would, and there would be some people who would say that's a poor way of operating your NIL collective. But there's so much money with this program, and she deserves a hefty raise for what she did with this team this year. So, anyways, it is what it is. And by the way, you said, I'm not arguing with you, but you said the officials baited her. The report. Well, the reporters ask leading questions, and I know that's part of being a reporter. You have to. I mean, how could you not ask questions about the officials? You have to. That's what makes this stupid. That's what makes Tony. That's what makes stupid. With the fact that coaches and players can't. Coaches cannot say basically anything about officials is because reporters have an obligation to ask about it, and the coaches have their hands tied. They can't say a darn word. That is ridiculous, and that's where we're at. And we want to make all these changes with the rules and whatnot. How about we make a change here? How about we have press conferences, post-game press conferences for the lead official of every game? That would at least begin the road to accountability.
No, and she even said, I kind of short phrased it with my notes or however you want to say it. Like she even said, you guys know I can't say anything, but this is how I'm going to word it. Like that I tried to talk to the officials and they didn't. They also asked her, I think it was brought up about the LSU player Reese following Clark and taunting her. And then another one they brought up was the crowd support. And every single response from Bluter to me was pure class. It was like, we control what we can control and don't worry about what we can't control. Pretty like she's saying what everyone knows, but not saying it to get a fine, like you mentioned.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, as we said earlier, this was the story of the game. Whether as great as Reese was, and she was fantastic, this was the story of the game. It's what people are talking about on social media. And maybe part of that is who Caitlin Clark is. And people felt like we didn't get the full Caitlin Clark show because she was hampered by foul trouble. That is, I mean, there you can't argue the fact that this game was totally different because you had Caitlin Clark on the bench, Monica Sonano on the bench, you have McKenna Warnock on the bench. And by the way, even when they're in there, Tony, Caitlin Clark had to play the whole fourth quarter knowing she's got 4 fouls.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a factor. I'm not saying every one of those fouls was bogus, but it is you can't deny that it wasn't a big factor.
I forget who it was that I follow on social media, but one of the former director of officials was not complimentary of the officials' performance today. Like,
who? You don't know who it was?
It was Jim. Jim was the guy's name. I forget who I followed because they retweeted the guy. You know what I mean? Like when Twitter, like someone retweets whatever. Now, I forget who it was that I follow, but the former director of officials said this was a poor performance. And this was in the first half. The game wasn't even over. This was even before. I'm trying to think of the correct word to use without being awful, but the technical on Clark. That was my tipping point. And I'm very pro official.
Well, it's a stupid call. It's a stupid call. Everybody went nuts. I'm gonna give you a tennis illustration.
Sure.
You tell me, you follow tennis at all, Tony?
No, I do not. No,
okay.
Sorry.
Several years ago during COVID, Novak Djokovic got disqualified, DQ'd from a U.S. Open match because he was upset, and as he was walking back to his chair, he hit a ball underhand that happened.
Yeah, I think I remember this. Sports Center's coverage. Yeah.
Hit a lineswoman in the throat, and they show her on TV going like this. She's like about to die. He didn't do it intentionally.
No.
They cued him. Now that's tennis. I understand there's a bit of a difference. Believe me, I've been watching tennis my whole life. I understand there's a difference in how you look at things in the sport and all that stuff. The fact that she dribbled the ball backwards, okay, that's a technical in this moment. She didn't say anything.
She didn't make eye contact. Like, there's no eye contact.
No.
None.
Great.
Yeah.
I know I'm just ranting and just repeating the same thing. Tony, how do you not give Kim Mulkey a technical when she's out there on all fours, jumping up and down like a literal animal, matching her tiger
outfit. Yeah.
Jumping on all fours, and you saw the video at one point.
I did.
Contact with an official.
I even said on Twitter, I forget who I replied to, that I said the official acted as the get back coach in football. Like the official, you have the get back coaches. Like the official acted as the get back coach.
Off too. She's like,
no. It was that was like, and I'm not taking any credit away. LSU was the better team today. I'm not gonna dispute that at all. They hit the shots they needed to. Yeah, they did. But we were robbed, like you said, of a great game. Like I've always said, and I think I've said it in past shows, that like as an official, you look at, is the player making eye contact with you to show you up as an official? Clark didn't even look at that official when she threw the ball behind her back. And the official just teed her up immediately with her out even saying a word. And then, like we just discussed a minute or two ago, the official's acting as a get-back coach in football, boxing Mulkey, Mulkey, right? That's her name. Yeah, Kim Mulkey, the LSU coach, off of the floor.
What can I ask you? What is the one word? What's one word you think of when you think of Kim Mulkey? And I listen. By the way, I listened to the press conference yesterday. I don't disagree with Sam Logic a few minutes ago. Said she's a great coach. You don't win multiple national titles without being a great coach. She's turned this program into a power in 2 years. I get it. But like the way she behaves, and I brought out how I think she makes everything about herself. She just acts like a creature. I mean, just her expressions and maybe somebody would say the same thing about, if she's a creature, then Fran's a animal, total animal. I don't like how she behaves the wrong way. I maybe I'm being totally hypocritical because I'm an Iowa men's basketball fan.
Yeah,
it rubs me the wrong way.
And I'm a huge. So you know I'm a huge Fran fan.
Yeah.
I'm not a mastery of the English language, so I'm having trouble coming up with just one word. But I'll say a short, concise sentence. I think she wants the game to be about her. There's zero reason for all those outfits. Zero reason. Like that takes like when that's what's being covered in the pregame, her outfits, as opposed to her coaching prowess and what she does for these kids. And what was it you said? I even saw the tweet too that they had the NIL stuff of the LSU players, and those two LSU players like supposedly outgained Clark. They were the top two, right? Weren't they?
There were two LSU players. I don't even know who they were. I don't even know. Well, maybe one of them was Angel Reese. Was one of them?
One of them was Angel Reese. Yeah.
Fine, but yeah, I saw that, and I don't know again where On3 is getting its valuation.
I don't know where. Yeah. But to me, that just shows you it's sad what could become of the transfer portal in both men's and women's. You know, Miami bought their team in both men's and women's. You know, the Miami women's team made it.
I don't think that valuation report is an indication that Kim Mulkey bought the team. Now, maybe she did. Maybe those players were lured here with NIL. But Clark was on that.
He was. Oh, yeah.
Well, and I don't believe that she was bought here. I think she decided to come here, and she's
oh, well, yeah, 100%.
Who she is.
But I think the both of them that were the LSU players were definitely transferred because Reese was a transfer because Reese, if I recall, is Julian Reese's sister. The Julian Reese that plays at Maryland.
Correct.
And she went to Maryland and then just yeah. It's just frustrating that's all, you know. But you know, you tip your cap to them. Like LSU played a great game and they hit shots. You know, we dared them to hit shots and they did. And that's all you can do, you know.
Iowa let's get the cat out of the bag. Iowa's not been good defensively all the year.
No,
they haven't been. They found a way to make a deep run with average at best defense. And the game plan against South Carolina was really good. There is still room for improvement with this program. I think there's room for improvement with recruiting. There's room for improvement with how you attack the transfer portal. And there's room for improvement, certainly, with defense. And Gabby Marshall really grew on me as this year went on. They need more tenacious defenders. They need people who are more committed to rebounding the basketball. That's nothing against Hannah Stolke, Monica Sinano, Addison O'Grady, but that needs to be a focus during the offseason. And I understand, I acknowledge the fact that these last two teams were two of the best rebounding teams, maybe the two best in the country, but that still needs to be a focus.
I do not think LSU was as much of a defensive powerhouse as South Carolina. No. Just from my eyes. Like, they did not get in our – I mean, how many uncontested three-pointers did we have that were nowhere near to be found in the South Carolina game? Like, they were in the grill of the third, fourth, and fifth, you know, Gabby Marshall, Kate Martin, and the other girl, I'm sorry, escapes my mind. But, like, they were in the grill of all those options. And it was just a two-man show in that game. And, like, that was not the case with this LSU game. Their defense, I was not that impressed with.
Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, there's a reason why they were obviously they were on as far as total wins, losses, they were one of the best in the country overall. But their seeding wasn't great because they didn't play a lot.
Yeah, they played nobody.
So it was hard to know what we were going to get in this tournament. But Angel Reese is just really good, really long, really athletic. One of the best. I think she's better rebounder than Aaliyah Boston. I don't know the final time.
Yes,
more rebounds per game than Aaliyah Boston did. But she is phenomenal down low, and she's just impossible to stop. It doesn't help when the officials officiate the game the way they did. But she is really, really good, and they do have people that will make you pay from outside.
Yeah, I'd love to see Iowa play one or two of these SEC teams in the non-conference next year. Because Bluter was not scared to challenge them this year in the non-conference. They had an amazing non-conference schedule. The Iowa men did.
Yeah, and frankly, I think with the success of this program and Caitlin Clark returning, it'd be a good time to schedule some big-time matchups. Not that there weren't good matchups this year. There were. We had North Carolina State came to town. I love the fact that Iowa plays Drake every year. They'll get him back in Carver next year. I'm trying to think who else was on the
K-State. They went on the road to K-State. That's a power conference team on the road.
UConn was a neutral site game. They played in a good tournament out in Oregon, or out in was it Oregon?
Yeah, the Phil Knight. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an opportunity. They are going to be back, Tony. I'm not saying they're going to make.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Next year, but if they can figure out the post position, and boy, you as Sam said, you would expect Jan Jensen and company to be able to figure out that position. They will be really, really, really good. And I don't think McKenna Warnock is coming back. She could change her mind and say, hey, I want to put dental school off 1 year. She probably won't do that. I think she would have already said that. Who knows? But this team will be back.
Yeah. I also was prepared. I'm sorry. I'm impaired also, but prepared for celebration. I had the Blue Moon bottle for you because you trashed me. I think it was a month or two ago when I drank the cans. And you said, make sure you get the bottles. So.
Well, the cans, you always have the aluminum taste in your mouth when you're drinking anything from a can. Everything's better in a bottle. Everything.
I agree. I agree. Just even, I'm sorry, what?
Even soda.
Oh, yeah. You get that real Coke out of a bottle, like the real Coca-Cola. It's like, it's much better. So what time are you going after the game tomorrow? Or during the game, or what's that plan with Coach Close?
I have not heard back from Coach Close. I believe the plan is to go on live after the game. We can talk about the game, but I kind of want to make it a season wrap up. We might just call it a Hawkeye hangout show and see what we got. So we wanted to do one more show with Coach Close before the end of the season.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate you following the women's team. And I latched on to them during the Big Ten tournament run, and then the NCAA, and they're fun to watch and frustrating end, but lot to be proud of.
By the way, for the people in the chat who there was one or a couple people who were upset that I used the word creature to describe Kim Mulkey. I use the word animal to describe Fran McCaffrey, and it's got nothing to do with I don't know Kim Mulkey as a person. I'm talking about how she behaves, how she dresses, and how she carries herself. I just maybe that's a bit. I don't care.
You can stop this before I ask it or whatever, but what were your thoughts on that bar fight comment where Lisa Bluter compared playing the South Carolina team to being in a bar fight for getting you didn't hear about that, I take it?
Maybe I didn't see that. Maybe I didn't hear
This
that.
Was a big deal made out of it. A big deal made out of it. And they asked Dawn Staley about it after the game.
Okay. I did. I have to go back and watch that. You know what? Here, I'll be the honest truth. And I mean this. This is totally honest.
Yeah.
I went on and tried to listen to the pregame press conference yesterday, the Saturday press conference leading up to this game. You know who was first on the schedule? Mulkey.
Yeah. No, I know. I watched it.
I fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make it through because I fell asleep. I couldn't take it anymore.
And it's so hard. Did you go to YouTube to watch that, or?
I did. I watched it on.
And it's so hard. Like they don't time mark it. You have to fast forward enough to watch it, and then you hear dead space. You know what I mean? Like you're listening, and you hear the reporters talking amongst each other. And so is someone coming on, or what's going? Because I did the same thing. I've got a lot of free time, and I watched both Mulkey's press conference and Bluter's press conference with Caitlin Clark's as well. And there wasn't much I could find on YouTube with the individual players, because they did a offshoot session where none of the players that weren't on there. Yeah.
Breakout rooms, basically.
Yeah, break. Sorry, that's.
Yep.
Yeah. You're a lot of media versed than I am. I don't know the correct terms.
Well, no, that's it. But no, I know what you're talking. I literally fell asleep. Never got to listen.
Yeah, it was awful.
So, anyways, I don't care about Kim Mulkey. The LSU fans, that's fine. I don't.
Bluter got asked about it twice in that press conference. That bar fight thing.
Okay.
So that press conference before the game, because Staley brought it up after the game, and then Bluter got asked about it pregame before the LSU game in that same YouTube video I'm alluding to.
Okay.
So whenever you have time in the off season or whatever,
I
but
watch that.
Yeah, it was just interesting. I don't know. It's something that's probably made a mountain out of a molehill. That was nothing that Lisa meant to say.
Well, when you make a run like this and you have somebody like Caitlin Clark on your roster, you're gonna end up being in the spotlight, and everything you say would be
just magnified. Yeah,
exactly.
So, all right. Well, I'll look forward to seeing what time you do that tomorrow, and I'll catch up with you then.
Sounds good, Tony. Thank you for the call, sir.
Thanks, Court.
All right, let's. We're plugging along here in our Iowa postgame, and of course, again, we're recapping Iowa's national championship loss to the LSU Tigers, but also celebrating what was an incredible season. Emily in the chat, yes, a heck of a season for the ladies. What a ride! They will be back, folks. Maybe not in the Final Four, but you never know. With Caitlin Clark here, I think she's going to be here for 2 more years. They're bringing a lot of players back next year, including Kate Martin and Gabby Marshall. I feel for Monica Sonano. I feel for McKenna Warnock. We'll see. Warnock could still change her mind, I think, and decide, hey, I want to pursue dental school here and play. I think she can do that. She got a year of eligibility left, but again, tremendous feat for the Iowa women. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
Hey, I just wanted to.
Hello? Are you with us?
Oh, sorry, I had you on mute.
Oh, you're good.
I was just going to say, you were comparing Fran to LSU's coach, and with all due respect, Fran is not coming on the court with a suit with feathers on it or sparkly or whatever. So, you know,
I understand. Listen, did you get offended by my use of the term creature?
No. But
Okay.
yeah, I respect her as a coach. I think she's.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But too much sideshow. Too much. She
Exactly.
needs to reel it in a little bit.
Correct.
And I also want to say, I think it was pretty clear today that the refs were playing favorites. Is that a fair statement?
I certainly thought so. There were some bad calls that went against LSU as well, but I don't think anybody in their right minds could deny the fact that there were some really, really egregious calls against Iowa and some no calls against Iowa that I thought it was one-sided. Yes.
Right. But why?
Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. There are reasons why I could think why. One being who the head coach of LSU is versus Lisa Bluter, who, from the national perspective, doesn't have any sort of reputation to her name. That'd be the only. I'm not saying that they went into the game and said we're going to favor LSU. I'm not saying Kim Mulkey slipped a roll of $100 bills in one of the officials' pockets. But I do think when you have a head coach, watch Michigan State. You ever watch Tom Izzo coach? Like, you can't get a whistle against Tom Izzo either. I don't watch LSU basketball. I didn't watch a ton of Baylor basketball when Mulkey was there, but that would be my only explanation is there is that persona that a big-time coach with a big-time personality and a big-time reputation takes on, and I do think it can affect how the game is called.
Do you think there's some resentment that the darling of women's college basketball is a white girl from Iowa and she's carrying a white team from mostly Midwest?
Why would that cause? Who's resenting what? Who has a problem with her?
Well, I mean, I just feel like in some comments I've seen here and there, oh, she's just some white girl from Iowa, and
well, she's doing here's what I'm not saying that I can't speak for other people who are saying that, but I think the white girl from Iowa thing is when's the last time we've seen a white girl from Iowa do what she does? I mean, she has the handles of some of the best black players who ever played the game on both the men's and the women's side. And I think that's probably why people use that term. I wish people wouldn't bring up skin color at all. Frankly, I think it's pointless.
No,
because
I think it's idiotic. And I would say the vast majority of people are just, game recognizes game. She's a great player. Vast majority of people appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
So I know I.
But I mean, it's just reffing malpractice to me that the LSU coach basically assaulting the refs, running across the court, being a sideshow, and the refs don't do anything about it. Caitlin Clark rolls the ball, out of bounds, and she gets teed up for that. To me, that's favoritism.
Yeah, of course, sure. But here's the only thing about it. This is why I bring up the thing about Mulkey and who she is, because I have seen the same thing with Fran McCaffrey and Tom Izzo. I mean, I can think back to a specific game, might have been 2015, 2014, somewhere in there, of a game in Carver against Tom Izzo. I can go back to the 2013 Big Ten tournament, and it was a Fran coach team versus a Michigan State coach team, and Iowa would have made the NCAA tournament had they beaten the Spartans. It was one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen in my life. I don't think it's a coincidence that typically those types of games feature a future Hall of Fame coach like a Tom Izzo or a Kim Mulkey. And whether that's a subconscious thing or an outward display or whatever the case may be, I don't think that's a coincidence.
Right. And also, I don't want anybody to compare what Caitlin Clark did against Louisville with what Angel Reese did at the end of the game. To me, that's apples and oranges. If, let's say, Angel Reese dunked the ball on someone and did a little hand motion or something, I would be okay with that. I think, heat of the moment. I think that's fine. That happens sometimes. But at the end of the game, the clock is winding down. It's over. She is following Caitlin Clark on the court and doing this hand motion in her face. To me, that's classless. And LSU's coach should have, chewed her out for that.
Yeah. And just for the record, I'm not trying to act holier than thou. I have not said anything derogatory towards Angel Reese because I'm typically hesitant to do that with student athletes, and I'm going to give you more of a leash. But when you're a veteran coach and you're certainly setting the example for your players, I do have a problem. I'm going to be more critical of Kim Mulkey, and if Lisa Bluter acted a certain way, I've been very critical of Fran McCaffrey at times. I think sometimes what the display he puts on is a bit childish, but
right.
I do not endorse the constant showboating of Angel Reese. And here's the other thing about that, and it was brought up earlier how Caitlin Clark did the John Cena hand flashing toward Haley Van Lith. If that was indeed directed toward Van Lith, then I don't necessarily have a problem with Reese doing it once to Clark tonight. What I do have a problem with is continuing to do that and not acting like you have been there before. And of course, LSU hasn't been there before, but there is a sense of when you're winning and you win a championship, how you carry yourself. I also have an issue because if Caitlin Clark did that to Haley Van Lith and Caitlin Clark have a relationship off the court.
They're friends. Right.
They are friends. They know each other. I don't know that Angel Reese has any relationship with Caitlin Clark. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but there is a difference there.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm playing basketball against my friends, I'm going to act a little more irreverent. I'm going to be a little more trash talking. I'm going to do a little more. But and I don't want to take anything away from LSU. They shot crazy. Lights out. Angel Reese she had some foul trouble. I thought she had a pretty good game too. I don't want to take anything away from them, but Iowa had one hand tied behind their back. They couldn't get into a flow because of the refs, the foul situation. So,
yeah, and the officiating came into play immensely when Iowa was making its run, and they had cut it to single digits. And that is, we've talked with Coach Close about this. When you're trying to overcome a 20, 25-point deficit, when you get that score down to single digits, it's like a weight off the shoulders. And when Iowa had gotten it down to 8, I think they got it down to 7 at one point, you felt like, okay, they're in this thing. And it just felt like the officials, I'm not blaming them for the loss, but I'm just saying the officials did not allow the run to continue at that point in the game. And that was a crucial point in the game in the third quarter.
Right. And LSU played great, but the refs did not help the situation. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's all I have.
Thank you for calling in, sir. We appreciate the dialogue.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks, the phone lines are open. I'll be with you at least for the next half hour or so. The number is on the bottom ticker. It's also right here, 515-635-1601, 515-635-1601. You can also click the StreamYard link. Click on the description below this video, and you'll find that StreamYard link. We're recapping LSU's 102-85 win in the national championship. A lot of proud Hawkeye fans, despite the disappointment today, and understandably so. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
Hi, Corey. This is James.
Hey, James.
So I just wanted to say that, as bad as the officiating was today, I want to say that LSU played a great game. From shooting 35% from the three-point line all season long to shoot 65% today, that says quite a bit about what was going for them today. And I as bad as the refs were, the refs did not help them shoot 65% from the three-point line today.
Correct. Yeah.
The bad officiating definitely changed the complexion of the game, but I don't think that to say that the refs were completely at fault for the way the game turned out.
I agree. Like I said, I know Sam talked about how hard it is to defend. I'm not doubting that, but there were so many open shooters in that first half, and regardless of how many tough shots Morris made in the second half, and Carson and all these ladies, when you allow a team to spot up uncontested over and over and over and over again, you're asking for trouble. And how many times have we said that about the women's team and the men's team? Probably more with the men's team, because they don't always have the dynamic scoring. They score a lot of points, but not a Caitlin Clark, and not that gap with the rest of the field in the men's game. But how many times have we said that? Hey, why can't they identify shooters? Because when you let guys go off early, all of a sudden it's hard to slow them down. It's like a freight train, right? And Iowa had an issue leaving shooters open. And once you get confidence, once you get going, it's hard to stop that momentum.
Exactly. That, and then the other thing is look at how well their bench played. Nobody expected that.
Yeah. Give them credit.
Absolutely. Now, again, I feel like as much as the officiating was bad, I feel like at least today LSU definitely was the better team. Now, do I believe that the officials definitely took away from the game? Absolutely, but I'm not going to take away anything from what LSU did today.
I agree. Yeah, and you give LSU credit. They were the better team tonight. I think they do provide. I was nervous about this game. I didn't actually submit an actual pick, a score pick, but if you listened to my preview yesterday, I don't know if you did, but if you did, you heard me talk about the dilemma that Iowa was going to have, because this team had a lot more shooters than South Carolina did, and the way Iowa played South Carolina just wasn't going to work against LSU. And I think that transpired kind of the way I feared it would. And not maybe to this extreme, but defense has not been a strength of this program, and that was demonstrated today.
Absolutely, Corey. Now, that being said, us Iowa fans, we got to take some pride, because there's still some LSU fans trolling in the chat.
Oh, let them troll, man.
Absolutely.
I always find it funny, like when we had Michigan football fans on the chat when they beat Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. I always enjoy when they're in the chat, because I think it's really pathetic that a fan base that just won a championship has nothing better to do than to go to a YouTube chat of an opposing fan base's channel to troll. I think that's really funny, and it proves there's not much going on down in Baton Rouge.
That being said, Corey, I just want to say that I enjoy the show, and then I'm going to get off here and try and go watch some WrestleMania.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, sir, and thanks for being a part of the show.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go to our next caller here in our Iowa postgame. Thank you for calling Iowa postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's in our Iowa Smokehouse call-in queue? Hello? You're on the air.
This thing.
Hi, this is Bob.
It just felt
Hi,
like
Bob.
the officials, not blaming them for the loss, but I'm just saying the officials did not allow the run to continue. At that
Bob,
point in the game.
I
And that
can
was
hear myself, Bob.
Can you, sorry.
You're good.
Anyway, this is Bob here.
Hey, Bob.
So am I on the call?
You're on the call, Bob.
Oh, sorry. I must have been behind live. Anyway,
Yeah.
first time I ever called in. I have been listening to your show and enjoy it, but anyway, I missed part of the call because my 95-year-old mother had a problem with her iPad, and it can take a while to work through it.
I understand that's I've had similar problems with family members, and that's an hours-long process to help someone with technology.
Well, it was like around the first 15 minutes of your 15 or 20 minutes of your call, whatever. But a few comments. As I'm one of the, I'm sure I'm one of the top 10% oldest people that listen to your show. Though I must be younger. I'm clearly younger than Don Patterson, since I was a sophomore in the stands in the marching band at Kinnick Stadium in '79 when he joined the Iowa program. So I know at least he's got a couple of years on me. But I guess I find it interesting on the chat after I came back that how many LSU fans troll the chat, and some are very respectful, and some it's like, why are you on, just to make comments? But that is what it is.
When does Mardi Gras start?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't like booing the opposing team when they enter the field at Kinnick Stadium either. And I've been at games at Kinnick since the late '60s or early '70s. So anyway, I mean, my length as a Hawkeye fan probably. I haven't double checked with my mom. My mom's 95th birthday was on Friday, so she got a fantastic birthday gift. And she is an old 6-on-6 player. Her mother played 6-on-6 in the early 1920s, so definitely go back a long ways with Iowa women's basketball. But I don't know. As far as I don't like booing when people enter this boo the opposing team. That's my personal thing anyway. So a few things that I've heard over the last couple of days, and I guess I will say that as far as greatest teams or greatest moments, this women's team was the kind of greatest moment in my long history. My previous one probably would have been sitting in my dorm room at Slater Hall, which before it was a football dorm, with Ronnie Lester and the Steve Waite game, getting the foul, the +1. That was fantastic. The women's team definitely surpassed that. I've seen a lot of comments on this chat and even on the blogs about the 1980 hockey team. I actually I thought the same moment. I was actually sitting in my same room for that game and thought that too. But
yeah.
Anyway, it was a great season. Just from a background perspective, I was probably in my mom's womb for the last for the Iowa football team or any Iowa team that actually won anything major. That would have been like the 1959-60 season when I would have been in my mom's womb. So that was about. That was my only experience of having Iowa win something until like the John Johnson era, and then the Ronnie Lester era. So I grew up a lot of times. I will give a shout out to Don Patterson just because I didn't experience living an Iowa football season until that 1980 Rose Bowl, 1982 Rose Bowl, 81 season. Which was my senior in college. So no offense to the women, when you're a senior in college, it's hard to top that experience of going to the Rose Bowl in 1982. So that's my shout out to Don Patterson.
Well, I know he'll appreciate. I know he tries to listen to the shows and he appreciates you. I appreciate you listening to all of our content because Don is a treasure, and a lot of lot of this platform wouldn't be here if it weren't for Don and his willingness to be a big part of our football coverage. So I appreciate hearing that.
But yes, I mean, I guess I'm maybe biased toward football just because, I mean, my mom's dad. I said my mom just turned 95. Her dad became an Iowa fan. He got hooked in the 1920, 21. Those two, the only two ever undefeated seasons. That was when my grandpa was a student at Iowa. Even north of you, Corey. I mean, up near Humboldt, Iowa. Tiny town, came down to Iowa for dental school, and he got hooked, went back to his tiny hometown and was a dentist for 50 years. But he made the trek in the 20s and 30s on mud roads to Iowa football games. So I probably have a bias to football just because of him. But I grew up really 2 miles southwest of Kinnick Stadium, and with the old configuration, you could hear the stadium really from the house and riding along the street. It was so I heard all those losing games since we didn't have a winning season until I was a senior in college. But thank you to Hayden and Don again.
Absolutely, great story, great stuff. I hope you can call in when we get Don back on, and we'll probably have him on once during spring, but we hope to get him back on again this fall. He's a joy.
But I did start following the women's game about 8 years ago, maybe that first Megan Gupson, maybe 6 years ago, that the last two Megan Gupson years. I think they're fun to watch, and obviously with Caitlin Clark, the kind of wonders have continued. My experience as a basketball fan, my dad got season tickets the year after the John Johnson, Fred Brown year. So Fred Brown still had one more year. That was, I was 10 years old, 11 years old or something. And Dad brought me to the game. We were on courtside. He had courtside seats at that time. And I had he was a lawyer. He had two of those monster law books to kind of boost me up 1 foot to see something on the little chair on the 5th row courtside, but at the old field house. But so I do have a lot of memories of basketball. My football memories, I think the first game he took me was to a Penn State game in the rain that my mom didn't want to go to, and this was obviously I was blown out. But
yeah. There's been a fair share of those in Penn State Iowa games in the rain over the years.
So it was interesting just to. I also sat at, actually, I can't remember if it was right, but the game before the Michigan game that Iowa won, or the game before the next year's Ohio State game that they won, that they got blown out by Penn State. My niece happened to go to Penn State, and so I was at that Penn State game just where Iowa looked abysmal. I think it was the Michigan game. And then we come back I bring my mom back to Iowa City. She lives in Iowa City still. She's gotten season tickets. My dad's season ticket priority is back to 1946. But anyway, we went to that game, had to plow the snow off our seat, and I think that was the Michigan game. So there were some special games there too. But anyway, I tend to ramble on.
No, you're good.
So,
I appreciate you calling in, and like I said, thanks for. I know you said you're a first-time caller. Appreciate you supporting the channel here, even in April. I feel privileged to be able to take calls from people like you in the month of April. And like I said, we're not going anywhere. We plan on being back, so don't be a stranger to calling in.
I did start calling. I found your channel last year, and then I guess I didn't. I don't actually do a lot of social media, so I don't like to like buttons or whatever, but I did finally do that. I finally reconfigured my YouTube channel to allow me to subscribe and hit the like button. So
awesome.
Get your work. I'll have to join. I'll have to give you a contribution or something. One of the methods, but is I do appreciate all that you do.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. Thank you for calling in again, being part of the show.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Very much appreciated. Again, I've appreciated hearing from everybody here on the channel throughout the evening or the afternoon. And again, we're taking calls here for the final 10, 15 minutes. We're about 10 minutes away from the 2-hour mark, despite the loss. I see a lot of positivity. I know there's people trolling the chat. I don't really care. I think it's funny, actually, to an extent. And if you get vulgar, I will block you. But I don't have a mod in the chat right now, so we're going to do what we can do. But let's get back to our Iowa Smoke. Before we get to our next caller, and we're going to recap this game officially again. Iowa 85, LSU 102. The Hawkeyes finishing the season with a loss, but an incredible run in the NCAA tournament. We want to give another shout out to Iowa Smokehouse. They're sponsoring the channel. If you're new here or if you've been a part of the show, been watching the show throughout our men's basketball coverage and football coverage, be sure to support all of our sponsors. Right now, Iowa Smokehouse is offering a great deal. Put in an order at iowasmokehouse.com. Tasting is believing with their awesome meat products. You'll get 15% off by using that code Hawkeye at checkout. You'll also get free shipping with any $50 order. Now, here's the deal, folks. In light of the women's team making the run to the championship game and Caitlin Clark becoming a cheat code for the women's game, Iowa Smokehouse is offering a cheat code for you, the listener here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. If you use this code Hawkeye, not only will you get 15% off, you'll also get a bonus gift, a free 11-ounce Market Blend smoked meat stick pack, and that is courtesy of Iowa Smokehouse. Again, a free 11-ounce Market Blend smoked meat stick package, and you've got to get your order get it in before the 9th. So you got 1 week after this show. Get it in by the 9th, and you'll get the 15% off. You'll also get that free gift courtesy of Iowa Smokehouse. And again, put in a big order. Put in a $50 or more order because you'll get free shipping on top of that. Just great stuff. Tasting is believing with Iowa Smokehouse. And they don't just have meat. They have barbecue sauces, ketchup, salsas, all kinds of stuff. Thank you to Iowa Smokehouse for sponsoring this channel and this show throughout the season. All right, let's go back to our call-in line, our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line? Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Hi, this is my first time calling doing this. I've watched your show since the football season.
Well, appreciate you calling in tonight.
First of all, my name's Kyle. So how you doing, Corey?
I'm doing good, Kyle. How are you?
I've been fine, It's really tough to swallow watching the game, but I've been very proud. It's like a joy to watch, see a Hawkeyes men's or women's team make it to the Final Four. It was really special to see.
Absolutely. Historic, and I know people today are disappointed about this game, but what this team has done is incredible, historic, and they're not going anywhere, but this is just a special run.
Oh yeah, it's been. I mean, if it wasn't for Kaylin, we wouldn't even be here right now. I wouldn't say it was all Kaylin. It's the entire team. Sonoza, Warnock, and Martin, the coaching staff, and the bench. Or also, you can give credit to like the people, like the practice guys who help them at practice get to this moment. So I feel like it should not just be Kaylin and those girls. It should be also like the girls who help her made better.
Yeah. And here's the deal. When Clark went down she was out with 4 fouls briefly. Sonato had 4 fouls. Warnock had 4 fouls. I give credit because the supporting cast, I know Molly Davis came in, turned the ball over, but I give Gabby Marshall, Kate Martin, Molly Davis, Addison O'Grady, those role players a huge attagirl because all of those girls stepped up and gave Iowa a chance down the stretch. I know the final score indicated it was lopsided, but Iowa was within reaching distance, it seemed like, throughout that second half, and they had to do it with their best players in foul trouble. So this whole supporting cast, the whole coaching staff deserves tons of credit from start to finish in this tournament.
Yeah, if I'm like down at halftime and figure the game is over, I'm not going to quit playing. I'm just going to keep fighting to like the end of the buzzer, like kind of like in football. Like if you're down big, you just keep going until the whistle's dead and just keep fighting.
Absolutely. And this team has a lot of it. There's no question about it. Down 21 and you're in the second half to figure out how to climb back into it by 7. This team has a lot of fight, and it's more than just their star player, Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. I know like after like the South Carolina game, I knew there was only one. We had to play another game, and I wasn't going to take LSU very lightly or underestimate them. I don't know much about. I didn't know about LSU basketball because I'm mostly a football guy. LSU's a good school to go to. And I mean, I have a respect for the school. I mean, remember, like, I was really rooting for them. Like, I'm gonna click forward to football. In 2019 when they won the championship and Joe Burrow, which was honestly I think was the greatest team. I just gotta respect how they came out and just hit the freeze, man, and they just wanted it more.
Sometimes you run into a buzzsaw, and the defense wasn't great, but LSU had to make a lot of shots to score 59 in the first half. So no, they deserve lots of credit. My complaint about the officiating does not take away from how well LSU played. They earned this win, and Kim Mulkey's done a heck of a job there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know she was at Baylor when she coached those national championships, including Brittany Griner. And we were starting, I was figuring, the best thing, to get back in this game, is to start. I figure, in the second half, if we're making shots, we should, start pressing D, I remember last year, my former high school was in the state championship for girls, and throughout the entire game, they were playing press D the whole game, and when they were down, they pressed D. They started forcing turnovers and getting buckets, and they won that day. And I was hoping Coach Bruder would start doing press D, and I was a little disappointed she didn't do that because I figured she went with her gut and trusted her defense, but just wasn't our day today.
Yep, I agree.
And I mean, I know we beat South Carolina on Friday, and if we didn't beat them, do you really think LSU would have had a shot against Carolina today? Even if...
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the scores. I don't know how LSU would have played South Carolina. Again, they played a couple times in the regular season, I think. I think physically they can match up with Aaliyah Boston. I think Camila Cardoso is the tough one. South Carolina, if I mean, they've won a bunch of games, so it's who am I to talk about what they need to do? But they got to shoot the ball better from outside. And I think any team that played the way Iowa did against them could defend them effectively if they get them on an off shooting night. And I think it's easier when you don't have a bunch of elite shooters. It's easier to have off nights. Now, LSU could have come out there and missed a bunch of shots tonight, and Iowa wins. But that's sometimes how you have to play when you're going up against a dominant force inside. And so, yeah, I would have been curious to see what LSU would have done against South Carolina, but it's hard to bet against South Carolina ever.
Oh yeah, both games, South Carolina and LSU out-rebounded us, and their bench just dominated the game. And I know we could have used both of those against today, and there's nothing we can do about it. We just had to sit there and take it. But I'm very proud of the girls and what they've done this year. And this is just one of this Final Four runs going to go down as one of going to make history. For me as a Hawkeye fan, because I grew up mostly watching men's basketball and the football team, but this one was really special.
Absolutely special for all of us, sir.
And that's all I got to say for that. Thank you for having me on, and hopefully during the football season I can do this again.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Absolutely. Always good to finish the call off with a Go Hawks, even a day like today. I'm disappointed, but I'm definitely not heartbroken. I just don't know how you can after this unbelievable run. And you can be mad at the defense. I thought I was going to be, but no, just incredible run. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. This is either Daniela or Quinn. We either have a Daniela or a Quinn on the line. Hello?
Hello, it's Fifi.
Who?
Fifi.
I don't even know what you're saying, bro.
One message for the LSU head coach. I'm gonna keep it G-rated.
Okay.
Give it G-rated.
Yep, G-rated.
And that goes out to the number 10 girl, the LSU Tigers. Unbelievable. I'm speaking for the people. What was that? What was that? Can you explain to me?
I'm going to let you go because I don't even know what he was saying. I didn't understand any of that call. So I don't even know what was being said. I'm 2 hours into this show, but I don't think I've lost my hearing. I don't know what that person or whatever that was saying. So anyways, we can go on to the next call. Again, this is what happens, I guess, 2 hours into a show. The number to call in. Final call on our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. All right? Final call on the phone lines. The actual number is 515-635-1601. But if you go to the live chat, I just threw up the StreamYard link. You can join the show by video or join the show by audio like our last buddy boy did. Either way, call us. Last chance on the call line. Again, we appreciate Iowa Smokehouse. They've been not only sponsoring the show, they've been sponsoring our call-in line. You've seen their message across the bottom of the show. We greatly appreciate it. And a reminder, folks, it's time to gear up, all right? I know that we still got some Iowa baseball to talk about. We've got spring football to talk about. If you're interested in sponsoring the channel or sponsoring our post-game coverage for this fall football season, reach out to me from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. That's from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. You can also DM me through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Again, from the eye of the storm at outlook.com and our social media platforms at From the Hawkeye on Twitter, at From the Hawkeye on Instagram. Like our Facebook page, follow our Facebook page, From the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook. And please check out our merchandise, folks. Especially as we head into the offseason, get geared up for next season with original merch, whether you're talking about t-shirts, sweatshirts, coffee mugs, etc. From the Hawkeye of the Storm merch now available. Check it out on Spread Shop. I think that's the right. I'm not doing that name any injustice. Check it out. Link in the description below. A couple super chats here in the live chat. Theodore says, "Man, what a run, though. Great job, girls." Appreciate that super chat, Theodore. And it has been an incredible run and an incredible season in spite of the loss today. Another super chat here from Lomansky. Bob Knight, sideshow. Refs should not be sideshow. Pleased, Mulkey, not a sideshow at Iowa. So we've been on the other side of the Kim Mulkey effect a couple of times, partly because she's a great coach, but I don't think this is the first time Iowa fans have been frustrated by Kim Mulkey. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey, it's Cody. How are you?
I'm good, Cody. How are you?
Good. Enjoyed the been enjoying the show today, and really this whole season has been a lot of fun. And I know we talked a little bit about it with the men's, but I think both of these programs overachieved this year when you take a step back and look at it. And
Sure.
To be playing meaningful games in April is awesome. And a lot of this season seemed like found money as we kept on going. And obviously we didn't want it to end the way that it did, but
no, the women, real quick, the women were preseason number 4 in the country. So
that is true.
I mean, we can at least acknowledge that if you're going to live up to expectations based on preseason rankings, they should have made the Final Four. That doesn't take away from the fact that not only did they make the Final Four, they made the national championship game. So the season is a huge, huge success, regardless of preseason expectations. And I think you said these two programs. You were talking about the men's program as well?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at some of the things that we lost,
I agree.
Obviously this show isn't about the men's too, but overall, I mean, and thinking of how it went last year with Creighton, with the women, obviously we didn't think we were going to get bounced this year in the second round, but I mean, we had some pretty tough games, Colorado and Georgia and Louisville. I mean, those were tough games. Some of those could have gone either way. So it was nice to just push through those. And, this game, we had a chance. We got it back under 10 after weathering a barrage from a girl that hadn't scored in 3 games. And hey, you got to make those shots, and congrats to her. And that happens. Sometimes somebody goes nuclear on you that you don't expect. And, when you have a one and done, that's the good and the bad of it, unfortunately. and we
Absolutely.
were on the bad side of that.
I think
And,
it's fair.
you know,
I
it's
think it's fair to
basketball.
say
That happens.
if we played in a series, if Iowa played in a series against South Carolina, I don't care if it's a 3-game series, a 5-game series, or a 7-game series. I'm not taking Iowa to win that series. That's not being a hater.
No,
it's just
100%. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just that, as I've said before, sometimes it's the Jimmies and Joes, and you're right. There's a lot of Iowa brought a lot back last year, but they don't have the size that a South Carolina or LSU has, or the athleticism. And Lisa Bluter deserves a lot of credit for how and Jan Jensen, how they've developed people like Monica Sonano. Gabby Marshall has adapted. I've had doubts about her ability to be a starting guard at this level. She's turned into a good defender. I'm willing to admit that now. I don't think she's a great defender like a lot of people say. I think she's a solid defender. She's probably their best defender. I don't think they got a lot of really good individual defenders. I think Kate Martin is pretty good. But my point is they've gotten the most out of who they have on this roster. And I think with transfer portal and with some ads like Kenise Johnson-Etienne's a freshman who's got a little bit more athletic upside, I think, at that position. Next year, maybe she provides some athleticism if she plays. But I agree. They've gotten a lot out of the personnel they have.
Right. And I was looking at some of those matchups. When you look at, Monica's great, but at 6'3", that's, there aren't a lot of teams that she was going up against that she was undersized against so many of them. Obviously, she uses her body so well. Caitlin Pines people, and they're capable. But with the way the lineup was built, I think we got everything and more that we could out of that. And that's credit to the players and to Bluter and to Jensen and all of that. So obviously we want that dub, but man, heck of a run, and LSU took it. You know what I mean? Like, they took the game. You can't take away. That girl had to make those shots. Maybe that's not her average. Water finds its level, but it didn't find the level in that game. You know what I mean? So you tip your hat and you go on. So, but that's all I got. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you for the call, sir. Appreciate it. Good perspective, too, from Cody, because sometimes we do get caught up in the moment. How many times have we said that? Plenty. Kelly, thank you for becoming a YouTube member, Kelly. Appreciate that. And if you're interested in following in Kelly's footsteps, pretty low price to do this, folks. You can become a member and get some early video releases. You'll get some perks. Of course, you'll get that premium tag in the super chat, or in the live chat whenever you're on with us live here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. If you want to join us and become a premium subscriber, simply click the join button next to From the Hawkeye of the Storm here on YouTube to become a premium subscriber. Let's go to our next caller in our queue, our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey. Yeah, tough loss, eh? That's brutal. Really brutal. I was thinking about some things to say, when I came on, and I had a thought that, a lot of us, after we cover this and after, the game as a fan, we always talk about, man, LSU did this, LSU did that, and Iowa didn't do this. I kind of want to just step into the shoes of the players, because can you imagine, like, losing in the championship game? That must be one of the lowest feelings that you can possibly have, right? It's just like you're one win away from winning a championship, and when you lose and you're, especially the way it all went down with the refereeing and, the way that, some of our seniors had to, sit their last minutes on the bench, it's never a good feeling. I just wanted to say these messages because I think a lot of people including fans, the players, everyone may be a bit down tonight. I just wanted to say, being a musician, I love operas, and so I always take a lot of inspiration from them. And my favorite one is Candide, and my favorite quote from Candide is, "We'll build our house and chop our wood, and we'll make our garden grow." And I hope that people remember that even when, bad times happen, even when, we lose a tough game, even when we're feeling super down, we still can do things. There's still so much in our control that we can impact and we can, do. So I hope that the players, even though they're feeling really down tonight, and they'll probably feel down for a while, I hope that they can realize the season that they had, and can realize that there's more.
It wouldn't be normal if they didn't feel down for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to sting for a while.
They will.
But they will look back at this and say, "Man, opportunity missed, but also opportunity relished," because they had an opportunity to get it to the second weekend. They did. They had an opportunity to advance to the Final 8. They did. They had an opportunity to get to the Final 4 for the first time since 93 and the only time other than 93, and they did. And then they had an opportunity to do something that no team has ever done here at Iowa, men or women, in this game, in the game of basketball, and they did that as well, getting to the national title game. So much to be proud of. And like I said, you use it as motivation because a lot of these ladies are back next year. It's going to be a fun year next year.
Oh, they're gonna be very dangerous. Like I said, I think that like for example, I thought O'Grady played really well, coming off the bench. I was people were all saying like, oh, I'm not sure what's gonna happen. Even in the semifinal game when Sonano went out for some stretches, and people were like, well, these players aren't used to the big stage, but they stepped up in a big way, a lot of our bench players. So, I think the misconception, because people don't follow Iowa, is that Iowa's a team that's centered around Caitlin Clark and like that's it. And that we don't really play defense. I mean, you even heard the Southeastern Louisiana coach say it. Remember, she was like, "Well, Iowa doesn't play defense. Iowa, we're just gonna. They have never seen us before, and then we, held them to 43 points." So, I think it's really a misconception if you don't watch the team. And
they struggled. They struggled defensively tonight.
Oh, true. Of course they did.
And they're not great defensively. We get that, but as we've talked about before, they don't have to be elite. They have proven they're elite. Yeah. I mean, they lost it. They're elite. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
They can get better, but they are elite even without being even an above average defensive team. And by the way, Adam here in our live chat, he says, where does Iowa get ranked preseason next year? Top 5 ? I have a hard time just saying yes to that because I don't know what other teams are returning.
Yeah.
Without really studying. I would guess they're going to be a top 5 team preseason. Yeah. Definitely top 10. But given the fact that Clark is back, and the voters know that Clark is back, and they know that several of the other major players, starters. I mean, what's crazy about this is they're probably going to lose Warnock and Sonano, but they will retain Marshall, Martin, Clark, plus Stolke, who will likely start next year, plus O'Grady. Molly Davis is back again. I think she took a step back as the tournament went on. She'll be back, and we'll see what role she has next year. And then you also add some people, potentially even a transfer portal ad or 2. So I think they'll be top 5, likely, definitely top 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, also we have a couple recruits coming in, right? Like Ava Jones and was it Kenise Johnson Etienne or whatever her name is, I think.
Johnson Etienne. I don't know if she's going to play year one. I think the backcourt, especially with Gabby Marshall and Molly Davis coming back, true. I doubt, unless Johnson Etienne just really, really, really good and ready for the moment, I bet she redshirts. Ava Jones, I wish the best for her. I'd love to see her play someday. I think they'll go to the portal because I don't know that either of those players, I don't think you're going to be able to count on either of those ladies to contribute right away, but they're good foundation pieces moving forward. No question about it.
Right. Well, I think according to like the way too early top 25 now, I mean, of course, this is not taking like the transfer portal or anything because we're so far away from the next season. But I think they said like I think ESPN put Iowa like number 4. Like in the way too early polls. And I think it will be good for sure. I think that there's a lot of host of teams that can win a national championship, including like, in our own conference. I think Indiana could win it, and then UConn, of course, returning Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd and all their players, like they're going to be good. But
and the women's game is, I have a different view of the women's game than I used to. And I've always loved Iowa women's basketball, but I really love Iowa women's basketball now. It's just this game doesn't take anything away from that. I can't wait for November. I mean, I can wait for November for the weather. I can't wait for Iowa women's basketball in November.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what I like about women's basketball is it's become way more like it used to be, where it was like UConn. Like the time when I first started watching, I guess it was like the first time I really started watching was when Baylor, like I think with Brittany Griner, went like I guess like 40-0 or whatever. And then right after that, what happened, I think, was, because UConn then after that won their 4 straight titles. And I was like, well, it's kind of boring, Like, it's just the same teams over and over and over again. It's, like, obvious who's going to win. But now, ever since that Morgan Williams buzzer beater shot and UConn went down, now all of a sudden it's like, who knows who will win. And, I think it's cool to watch it now.
Yeah. Absolutely, Michael. Looking forward to it, and we'll have many more post games, I hope, like this.
Yeah, totally. Well, I better get going, but great to be on here, and I hope that we can all stay positive tonight, even though, of course, it's very disappointing. But
get it, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see ya.
Thank you. All right, couple things before we get to our next caller in our chat here in our queue. Brandon, all these players are role and support players coming back, not primary scorers like Monica. All right, Brandon, here's the deal. You're right. But let's not forget a crucial fact. You can only have so many primary scorers, Brandon. So as long as Caitlin Clark is here, she's going to be accounting for much of the scoring. Nobody else needed to be a primary scorer for Iowa. This was the best offensive team in the Big Ten, maybe the best in the country. So I understand what you're saying, but think about what you're saying too, because now Monica's gone. There will be opportunity for someone else. Will it be Hannah Stolke? Maybe. Could Kate Martin take on a bigger role? Will they add somebody in the transfer portal? The players who are returning, you have the greatest player in the sport in Caitlin Clark coming back. You have a budding star in Hannah Stolke who will be a lot better next year. Heck, Molly Davis scored a ton of points at Central Michigan. We'll see. I know she lacks the size, but she scored a lot of points at Central. She may have an opportunity to take on more scoring at Iowa next year. And Gabby Marshall, boy, she got hot from three as the year went on. But you're right. Though I do not anticipate Marshall and Martin becoming primary scorers. I would not be surprised to see Stolke up her average points per game by more than double. Would not be shocked at all if we saw that. Would not be shocked if Molly Davis did the same thing. And they've got other players in the wings. Maybe one of the post players really develops. And I'm talking about O'Grady, Ediger, or Sharon Goodman. So I understand the comment, but I would argue it a bit. X'd again, Gambler. When the Hawkeye football team makes the championship game, do you want some fan calling in and talking about who talked about anybody other than Iowa? Who talked about Iowa football? I think it was mentioned for like 5 seconds. I don't know what caller we're talking about. We've been talking about women's sports for over 2 hours, and all of our post-game coverage over the last month has basically all been about the Iowa women. So I don't know where this comment's coming from. But anyways, Lemansky, thank you for the super chat, Lemansky. Lady Hawks were great when the curtain came down. National narrative. Wonderful. Thank you, Lemansky. You have been a trooper on this show as well and supporting our sister channel, Iowa Football, at the Voice of College Football, a Mark Rogers' own channel. So we appreciate you being here, Lemansky. Let's go back to our call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, this is Darren. How you doing today?
Good, Darren. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, I just wanted to say, Hawkeye of the Storm, thanks for what you're doing, especially promoting for the Iowa basketball team and for everything that you're doing for, the Iowa fans and the Iowa community.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't view myself as a promoter for anybody, but I do appreciate that. I think I hope that a lot of people feel the same way you do.
I do. I mean, I have watched, I've watched Iowa since I've been just a kid, mostly with my dad. A lot of memorable moments that I had in the Iowa stadium. We were there for the men's football team when they defeated number 7 Minnesota at home. That was probably one of our biggest games. But I would have to say, with everything that's going on now with the women's basketball team, Caitlin Clark, she has really shown a lot of people, just how explosive Iowa can be and just how strong they can be. And for her hitting, 40 points, 41 points in that game, beating the number 1 team, arguably in the nation, that shows a lot of, gumption for the Iowa basketball team and for our franchise.
Absolutely. And, I've seen some people in the chat talk about exposure. It is not only is it great exposure, it will help recruiting. It helps to recruit. It helps the men's side of recruiting when you have players like Keegan Murray have success in the NBA. Same thing when you have team success in either sport. The women's game going, not only with Caitlin Clark, her being a national story, but the team advancing to the Final Four, being in the national championship on ABC. We have seen some benefits already. We're going to see more. And I'm not saying Iowa's going to be able to become a powerhouse on the recruiting trail because there are some limitations being at Iowa. But as I said with football, as I said with men's basketball, when you see what a job your head coaches here at Iowa are doing with development, just imagine if you can uptick your recruiting, 10%, 25%. It could do wonders for a program that had national success this year.
Yeah, I mean, just from last year with, the men's basketball team, they had Keegan Murray and everything too. they had a lot of, national looking for seeing if we were going to go to at least the Sweet 16, just with the skill that he did. I mean, we beat arguably number one team in the nation, which was Purdue in the Big Ten tournament. And, I'm just hoping that, Iowa just gets the fame and, the respect that they deserve. And, for the people that are in the comments that are sitting there, trashing about the Iowa basketball team, you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, this is all about trying to be respectful towards everyone else, and you shouldn't be doing that to, them. And at the end of the game as well, where they were, trying to do that to the Iowa girls, and they asked them about it at the conference, and they just shrugged it off. That's how a mature person and a mature individual deals with that type of, situation.
And that's trickled down from the head coaching staff. I mean, or the head coach and the coaching staff as a whole, right?
Exactly.
And that's what
exactly.
you say what you want about Lisa Bluter, and frankly, say what you want about Fran McCaffrey. I know he carries himself differently than Bluter does, but both of those people, they are players, coaches, and they do teach their players to carry themselves with class. And although I've been critical of Fran getting a little carried away on the court at times,
I've seen that.
yeah,
I think we've all seen that.
Yeah, but both of those, I'm proud of the people that Iowa has at the helm for both the head of the women's program and the men's program. They're both in good shape, and again, there's room for improvement, and that's saying something when you have a team that made a Final Four run, a national championship run.
Oh yeah, absolutely, sir, without a doubt.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, sir, and we hope to hear. I appreciate you supporting the show, and please keep spreading the word about what we're doing here. And we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow night with Coach Close, but we'll be back moving forward into the off season and into fall football.
Absolutely, yes, sir. I will
sir.
do that.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you,
call.
sir. You too.
All right, great calls tonight, folks. I appreciate everybody being a big part of this, even after we lost. Samantha Logic. Matthias makes a good point in the chat. The time span of semifinal to final is a joke. Late Friday night game, midday national championship game, utter joke. Not enough time for players to rest. Not enough time for coaches to prepare. I agree. That's not an excuse by any means. Iowa played and they finished at like 11 o'clock p.m. Central Time Friday. They got to play at 2:30 p.m. Central Time Sunday. Kind of ridiculous. I don't know why you can't get a primetime game. Don't tell me it's because of wrestling, WWE wrestling or whatever, WrestleMania. There's a Taylor Swift concert going on down in Dallas. I don't think that's got anything to do. This needs to be looked at moving forward because it's best for both teams. I don't know what the quick turnaround does for anybody. And I know that, conference tournament, you're playing back to back to back, right? Sometimes 4 games in 4 days, 5 games in 5 days. So I'm not saying it's a valid excuse, but if you're going to want a quality national championship game with 2 teams who are rested 100%, spread the games out a little bit more and give the women a primetime slot or start the Friday games a little bit earlier. I think that would help as well. And finally, the Johnny O Show in the chat. Corey, I did finally order something. Steak bites, red pepper, $16.99. Beef jerky, spicy jalapeno, $10.99. Turkey jerky, Cajun style, $10.99. Steak bites, sweet old fashioned, $16.99. Original meat sticks. Oh, you get to the 50. Actually, I think we've got the Johnny O Show in our chat. Hey, there he is. How you doing, sir?
Hey, pretty good. Hey,
did you get to the $50 mark to get your free shipping?
Yeah, I did.
Good for you.
I did.
Setting the standard.
I know you're always complaining because I always just gripe about spending money. So
you weren't stingy on this, so I appreciate it. I know.
Well, the free meat sticks pushed it over, so I decided to go for it.
It's great stuff, and keep in mind, as John just brought out, a reminder to people. I brought it up earlier. If you get your order and use the code Hawkeyes, right?
Yes.
So you use the code Hawkeyes, and you'll get the meat stick, the free pack of meat sticks as well, courtesy of Iowa Smokehouse.
So I just wanted to say, I'm not a big sports guy. Before Corey married my daughter, I probably watched 5 games of anything in my entire life. So, but I found it astonishing during this game tonight. I was immersed in it. I mean, they were down 21 points just at the first half. And then when they started coming back at the beginning of the third quarter, I actually looked at Rob and because I was like, yeah. It's like, wait, did I actually do that? Did I actually? It's like I never got in. If you guys knew me, I'm an IT guy. I'm a computer nerd. I don't give a hoot a nanny about sports.
Well, you got to realize, John, too, there's a lot of Iowa fans who, like it or not, didn't care about Iowa women's basketball until recently. And I was pretty young when Sam Logic was a star here, but heck, she joined us for the first hour of this show. She was unbelievable. And a lot of fans missed her generation. But now that Caitlin Clark has come here and changed the game, I'd like to think that great players like Sam Logic won't get missed in the future. I'd like to think that once Caitlin Clark moves on, that fans won't just desert the team and stop caring about Iowa women's basketball. But the point is, there's a lot of people who have changed their watching habits and their fan habits as a result of not just Clark, but this team. And so this team has changed a lot, not just with the national championship run, but with how they play the game. And I mean, the viewership has been incredible over the past couple of weeks with this team comparative to other sports and other teams and other years. So you're not alone in that sentiment.
So yeah, I just want to say that I do feel that they really did bring attention to the game. And I think the turnout there was, I mean, I'm sure it was from both sides. I mean, you could hear the LSU fans cheering, they were loud. But I mean, I think that the Hawkeyes really brought a lot of attention to the sport. And I think that was good. And, that's all I had to say. I mean, I've just never been into sports, and I actually was cheering this one on. It was still a bummer they lost, but I think if I heard the refs correctly, I got my dog trying to get in my way here. If I heard the refs correctly, this was the highest scores in the.
I think final score, total points scored for a national championship game. I think it was the most points ever scored in a national championship game, and part of that is great offense, part of that is subpar defense. But there's been a lot of those. The semifinal game the other night against South Carolina was the highest viewed women's basketball semifinal game in the history of the tournament. So, they definitely made waves.
Well, that's all I had to say. And stop hounding me about not supporting your sponsors.
We'll talk to you later.
All right. See ya.
Thank you, sir. All right. Appreciate John, and check out his channel on YouTube out as well. Talked about him earlier. And reminder for folks, you can check out the men's championship game tomorrow night, Monday night at 8:20 p.m. Central Time. I don't know why we have such late starts. Why we got to start it at 8:20 p.m.? I sound like an old guy. I don't understand that, but I plan on being live with Coach Gary Close. I believe after the game, I got to confirm some things with Coach Close. We're going to recap the game, but we're also going to talk about Iowa, the men, and I'll get his take on the women's game from today. Folks, it's been wonderful. Check out our show tomorrow. But for Samantha Logic, for Tania Davis, for the people who have been a part of this show over the past month and this tournament run, thank you. I never thought I never, if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have never thought that I could ever find this much joy and adulation for covering the Iowa women's basketball team the way I cover it. I'm not part of your traditional mainstream media. I'm not at every press conference. I'm not at any press conferences with Lisa Bluter. I make it down for a press conference or two each year for football. That's it. And I cover the sport the way I cover the sport. And I appreciate the people who have supported the channel here. But again, I never thought I would enjoy doing this as much as I do. And again, your support of our sponsors, your donations, you see the ticker there at the bottom. You can donate by means of PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. You can also do super chats, as some have demonstrated. All that makes this possible. But I have greatly enjoyed it, and I've greatly enjoyed talking to some Iowa legends here over the past few weeks. And of course, Coach Close, we're going to give him his due tomorrow night. But I just want to thank all the women's basketball fans for being here. And, the more we do, the more we need your support. So please continue to support the work being done here. Please encourage your local businesses to sponsor the channel here. And we'll continue to drive the coverage along here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Couple of reminders, folks. Please subscribe to the channel, please like this video. Hit that like button. As I mentioned earlier, you can sponsor the channel by emailing me from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. That's from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. Sharing on social media is always important, always appreciated. Please share this stream out on social media. Again, final score tonight, folks. The LSU Tigers defeating the Iowa Hawkeyes in the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament Championship game, 102-85. But congratulations to Lisa Bluter, Caitlin Clark, Monica Sonano, McKenna Warnock, Gabby Marshall, Kate Martin, Hannah Stolke, this entire group for an incredible run, a historic run, and we'll look forward to seeing them back on the court in November. Again, for Iowa legend Samantha Logic, I'm Corey Brada here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We will talk to you tomorrow night.